A Vatican official knelt at a ground altar in Cusco last week and gave thanks to the earth, to Mother Earth. Then he stood up and gave a talk about protecting abuse victims. When he noticed the camera, he turned his own name placard face down on the table and walked out of frame. Nobody had to tell him to do that. He did it himself. And that's the story tonight, not the coca leaves offered to a demonic earth goddess, the nameplate. On August 13th, at a church-sponsored human rights conference in Cusco, Peru, a woman opened the proceedings by leading an offering to Pachamama, the Andean earth goddess. Coca leaves were distributed and offerings were made. Attendees were guided through breathing exercises and told to reflect on their interior state before laying the leaves and offering in bowls on the ground. This body, she told them, is land. It is territory. No Catholic prayer opened the meeting. None. Monsignor Jordi Bertomeu, an official of the dicastery of the doctrine of the faith and the Pope's own commissioner for the abuse cases in Peru, placed his cocoa leaves in the bowl with visible solemnity. So did the auxiliary bishop of Cusco, just ahead of him. A second bishop was present as well. Vatican News covered the conference at length as preparation for the Holy Father's November visit to Peru. It did not mention the ritual. It did not mention Bartholomew. The official record is silent on both. And this is not the first time. In 2019, a wooden Pachamama figure was carried into the Vatican gardens, blessed and processed into St. Peter's itself. We were told it was culture, not cult. Our Lady of the Amazon, a symbol of life, not a goddess. And 7 years later, the same office that adjudicates doctrine for the whole church sent a man who did the same thing again, more quietly, and then hid that he had done it. That is the doubling down, not the theology, the instinct to conceal a globalist, syncretist scheme. Remember what happened in the book of Exodus? I bring up the story because it kills the excuse before anyone else can erase it. And when Israel saw that the mighty hand that the Lord had used against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord, and they believed the Lord and Moses his servant. Exodus chapter 14. Now that's the verse 1431. That's the verse right before the Song of Miriam. Weeks, not decades before, Israel stood at Sinai and asked Aaron to build them something they could see. They had watched the sea swallow Pharaoh's army. They had eaten manna from the hand of God every morning. And still, when Moses delayed on the mountain, they wanted a calf. Nobody at that golden calf thought they were replacing the God who split the sea with a rival deity in the philosophical sense. That was never the question. The question was what they reached for the moment the true God asked something hard of them, namely patience and trust and waiting on a presence they could not see. Bartholomew did not need an anthropology lecture to know what an offering to Mother Earth is. Christians in name only have been pinching incense to Jupiter for some time, and neither did the bishop who knelt before them. So the thing is, folks, this is a horrible repeat of a very tragic thing in the church, is memory. When you think about it back to Exodus, those people, those Hebrews that followed Moses across the desert, who saw Pharaoh's army destroyed, the sea itself parted and the Pharaoh's army destroyed, those people had eaten manna from the hand of God every morning. And still, when Moses delayed on the mountain, they wanted a calf. Nobody at that golden calf thought they were replacing the true God. The thing is that there's all kinds of excuses for this kind of stuff. I mentioned before, they like to tell you it's Our Lady of the Amazon. But it is very clearly, the Andean goddess of the earth, the Pachamama. And in fact, Francis admitted it, even though his apologizers were all running around saying, oh no, it's you guys, you trads, you're lying. It's really just Our Lady of the Amazon. And then it comes out, oh no, It's an Andean demon goddess, right? That takes human sacrifice. In fact, to this day, as I understand it, the mob equivalent in areas that the Pachamama is venerated, that one of the rituals they'll do is they'll offer a human sacrifice. Like if they have a rat in their organization, they'll offer a human sacrifice to her with the priestess, and then they'll bury them in construction cement. And this kind of stuff is going on with the church's blessing. It's pretty bizarre. When I was a young seminarian, I was once faced with a dilemma to turn a blind eye to something seriously wrong in order to avoid what many would say was scandal, or to do the right thing and trust my bishop, even if it meant personal cost and the hatred of others. Everything I write about on Substack and speak about on this channel comes back to the first commandment, to give God the honor that he's due, and to seek the real, true, and good, to discern and align with the divine will. The book of Genesis, in chapter 1, verse 1, says, "In the beginning, God created heaven and earth." He didn't become it. He's not found within it. He made it, and he remains outside what he has made. God is distinct from his creation. He is distinct from time itself outside of the incarnation. That wall between creator and created is important. Every civilization that has lost that wall has ended up in the same place. The earth becomes sacred. Man becomes a problem to be managed on the earth's behalf. And eventually something is asked in sacrifice. Balak saw this coming. Remove the faith, and you do not get a tidy secular vacuum. You get a replacement religion. And replacement religions always collect a toll. We saw that, the fallout of one of the most popular recent secular religions is the wokeism. And look at what carnage it wrought. Even its followers are now getting on CNN or other interview shows and laughing, tee-hee, oh, was a little crazy, wasn't it? Idiots. This is not a fringe worry dressed up as ecology. Pius XII condemned by name the notion that revelation and the natural order form one evolving whole. That condemnation exists precisely because the temptation is perennial, not because anyone expected it to show up again in a conference hall in the Andes. Consider our beautiful Lord Jesus on the cross. From John chapter 19. Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother. When Jesus therefore had seen his mother and the disciples standing whom he loved, he saith to his mother, Woman, behold thy son. Judas sold him. Peter denied him 3 times before the cock crowed. The rest ran. One apostle stood at the foot of that cross next to the Mother of God and did not leave. And I bring this up because it is the honest shape of what happens whenever the church is betrayed from within. And it's always been the shape, not a uniform collapse, a scattering and a remnant, and most flee, a few stay. Not because staying is safe, but because leaving was never really an option for them. If tonight leaves you only angry at the man in Cusco, I have failed you. The anger is justified, but we can't stay there, brothers and sisters. The harder question is, which of the two groups are you part of when the pressure comes, when the test comes? Are you with the 10 apostles who ran, or are you the one who stood? I'm not going to tell you Bartholomew is damned, although if you do manufacture asbestos underwear, give the poor man a deal. I do not have the authority to presume that poor man's end, and our Lord alone reads a man's heart. What I can tell you is this: remaining comfortably at peace with what happened in Cusco, telling yourself it's nothing, may be the more dangerous road, not the safer one. Canonical irregularity has never been the thing that costs a soul, but complicity, dressed as loyalty has. And this is not a call to stand outside the church shouting at her. It is a call for everyone who still loves her. In whatever canonical position you presently find yourself, whether you're SSPX or Sede or independent, or whether you're sitting in a Novus Ordo pew, doing the best you can to refuse the golden calf when it is offered to you, however gently, however well lit, however many committees or synods approved it first. The God is not the same as the earth. The earth is not your God. She is not your mother. We have the true triune God who gave us a blessed mother. May we pray for the triumph of her Immaculate Heart, that she may lead many to her divine Son, apart from whom no one can be saved. So, Felix, did you hear about this news before I mentioned it tonight?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've been kind of deep diving into the whole Candace Owens, Andrew Wilson thing. So, but
yeah. Is it worthy of us doing a show on it? Or do you think everybody's been beating that to death?
Yeah, it probably has been beaten to death, but we could maybe talk about it a little bit later. But
yeah, well, we could maybe tonight a little bit.
Yeah,
especially absolutely. if we can find people on both sides of it. That's always more fun when we have a little banter.
Yeah, no, totally.
I saw that Jeremy there at the quartering got into trouble with Alex Jones and stuff too. That was kind of interesting.
Ooh. Yeah, you
but
don't
we're getting off
the
topic of today.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
We'll come to that, circle back on it if people are interested.
Yes, Father.
So the Pachamama, Felix, it just doesn't go away. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
That's right.
You know, I actually had somebody say, it was kind of funny. I had one of these cross-pollinators. So, folks, I call that when I have people that visit from other churches, and they're always welcome. But, you know, I mean, I don't have a lot of people that have middle feelings about me. You either think, you know, either find me useful in your spiritual path, or you find me, you know, horrific and you run for the door. So it's one of the two.
Yeah.
And but I always get a kick out of it because one of the cross pollinators, and of course, you know, she didn't stay, but yeah, that was her criticism. She said, "Why does he always bring up the Pachamama?" Well, because
That's
if your church leadership gives offerings to like demonic goddesses, then yeah, it is kind of something that's important, right? And the thing is, oh, well, you're misrepresenting. It's Our Lady of the Amazon. Like, come on.
Please.
You have an encyclopedia, surely you have access to one. Go research it for yourself. Yeah. So this is the thing, and you know, and we talked about it in other episodes. I think 2 episodes ago. This business of people saying that or most people who are in this space, we don't do this for. We certainly don't do it for fortune. So we don't do it though. We don't do it for to cause people hurt, and we would never. Anybody sincere in this time of crisis, even if they disagree with me, but anybody who's sincere. Is not misrepresenting. We see things differently, right? And so I'm sorry, this Lady of the Amazon thing. What a load of crap. And then Francis, of course, blew it all up. He told them, "Hello, Leroy, welcome." Yes, that's right, exactly.
The Pachapapa, the Pachapapa, and the Pachamama.
We were just saying, Leroy, that this is the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, you think that this is over for a bit, and so has anybody else in the chat? Had people that you know you talked to about, and they've insisted that it's Our Lady of the Amazon, and that we're just being overreacting?
I've never heard that. Me personally, obviously I will see in there, but I've never heard anybody make that case. And I mean, outside looking in, and again, midwit, normie, Catholic goer, you know, this is clear. This is like looks like a clear cut. Like almost appropriation of a deity, more so. All right, because if I compare it to Guadalupe, the miracle of Guadalupe, and you look at the Tillman, there's like all these messages in there, and it's Mother Mary, and she's crushing a serpent, right? Like she's out, you know. There's all this messages and imagery and symbolism, you know, to then go and make the leap. If that was the case, like we would have gotten a more clear revelation about Pachamama. Like, I don't know, just on surface, this really gets annoying, Father, because it's like it's clearly not, and they're, you know, it's like they're peeing on us and telling us it's raining.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
And it's really frustrating.
Well, they want to play it both ways, right? So that there's this weird thing amongst postmodern leftists right now to kiss Aboriginal populations' buttocks, right? So they want to give them all this land, and they want to, you know, they want to, you know, not hold them to account for some of the crazy stuff they say, you know, like the stuff that was going on in British Columbia, Canada there. And again, without proof, without evidence, without rule of law, first of all, if you're an Aboriginal person that was evangelized to, your family was evangelized to and baptized, you should be grateful to the church, not growling about the church.
And many are.
Yeah, many are grateful. That's right. Now, and I have native blood too. Again, I'm let's put it this way. I have more native blood than Elizabeth Warren, but I don't my cousin got a status card. But I'm never one of these people that, you know, I'm certainly proud that I have a native blood. But you know, it's not, you know, I'm an American in culture. So I'm not any one of my nationalities that I have
Right.
ancestral derivation from: Ireland,
Right.
Scotland, England, Canada, and some First Nation, right?
Yeah.
So that's what Canadians call Aboriginal, like American Indians. We call them First Nations. So, but anyway, it is kind of bizarre that they would
You
want
want to
to
die on a
resurrect
hill?
these old false gods.
Yeah. I mean, is it? Well, yeah, it is bizarre. It's bizarre that it's coming from the church, and again, like,
Well, it's a syncretist thing, right? It's like the coexist sticker. They basically say that all religions bring you to the same God, and it's a heresy.
yeah, no, it's just that a lot of Latin Americans, Hispanics, Mexicans, South Americans, North Americans owe a great deal to the miracle of Guadalupe. A great
Absolutely.
deal to that miracle. And I feel like this, I feel like that's such a horrible way to start the sentence, but it just seems like this, the Pachamama thing, it's just really trying to erode at that. Maybe I'm making a connection that isn't there, Father, but
No, I
it
think you're right
almost feels
on.
like it's an attack on it because
Because
that
you
is
may
not
know.
how she was revealed to us.
No, absolutely, and you may know that the Protestant Revolution took away many hundreds of thousands of people, right? And Our
Yeah,
Lady of Guadalupe brought even more people into the church.
yeah,
So
like
that's
in the
part of the.
millions, and
Yeah,
like, and it's not just like, I mean, again, this gets kind of crazy, but I mean, we're talking about ending human sacrifice virtually overnight after that miracle. Like, I mean,
yeah,
obviously within, but I'm being a little hyperbolic there. But guys don't understand. I guess people don't understand how prevalent it really was because it's been watered down so much,
yep.
and also like the savagery that went on that has nothing to do with human sacrifice, just the savagery that went around. Um, it is such an important miracle. Maybe the Pachamama thing can be, I mean, if you use like Christian judo, Catholic judo to refocus on Guadalupe, the miracle of Guadalupe instead, and kind of maybe that's a good counterattack. I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but it's just there you go. I have a critic,
Absolutely.
or have,
No, you're
well, she's looking the right paw, right? The right paw means yes. No,
yeah. Well, there's two of them in here today. So there's the tuxedo cat. I was waiting for him to pounce the microphone just before we went live on air. I had to shoo him, and then the other one's starting now, but she was sleeping. But now and I was just concerned that she's going to launch. So you might have a show, folks.
oh, fun. Yeah,
Cat may
yeah.
launch. They're biological brother and sister, so
Oh, this is hilarious.
they like to tease one another. But anyway, okay, so yeah, so that's crazy, and the problem is that I know I have liberal priest friends in the Novus Ordo, and but none of them worship demon goddesses, right? Like when I say they're liberal, I mean they prefer the
Right.
mass in English, and they'd
Yeah.
probably applaud a deaconess, which I would just facepalm at, but they're not, like, they don't apostatize from the Christian faith,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, I don't really see how you can square this circle, venerating this demon goddess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on the bright side, I think it's going to drag the people in the middle more to the Catholic side because there are liberals, even among liberals,
Yeah,
there's a line. All right, there,
that's true.
there even
That's true.
and it's their worldview under attack more so. Like so that's where you see that's why they're they constantly get told it's a snail eating its own tail, snake eating its own tail. So there's
Yep,
constant division within that frame, and you're gonna have people. You're constantly gonna set a line that other people aren't willing to cross
it's
until
true.
you're just left with a radical minority.
Yep, it's pretty bizarre. I'm actually amazed how many people, like, hear the story and then they just sort of change the subject, and then they don't let it. Like, this isn't the first time. And for those who have any interest in Marian apparitions, Sister Agnes of Akita, she came out. She didn't even know what happened. It was but right after the Pachamama incident, she came out and she just made a public statement to pray the rosary for repentance. So I always thought that was kind of significant because all of the churches closed down for ages. after that. We stayed open. Pius X stayed open, and a couple of Sede chapels stayed open, but almost every church closed. And of course, a lot of Novus Ordo are taught, unless you have a congregation, don't offer mass. So that meant all those beautiful masses that were said, mass ceased, or was reduced, and what the problem is it just really showed that the leadership doesn't believe in the same faith that the people do. And so that's kind of the red pill right now, is what we're facing in the church, is that, when Francis and Leo get up and talk about the multiplication of the loaves and the fishes being a miracle of sharing, I mean, it just underlines the whole fact these people don't actually believe as you do. Most of you are watching. So what do we do with that? Well, you pray for them, first off, right? And I would say, so sometimes people say, well, what's appropriate anger? You should be angry at any kind of offense to God, but don't let it own you. Don't let the devil use that as an opportunity to mess around with your head or your spiritual life. But I think there is a space for righteous anger, but it should not be, it should not be prolonged, and you just sort of get it out of your system and then try to find the charity in your heart to pray for the people that do it, and ask that God enlighten them, because a lot of these people are just enthralled with, demonic obsession or something like that, or they made a bargain with the devil, essentially, like either not necessarily formally, but they made a bargain with the devil for church career or worldly success, and this is part of the price. So that's why you can pray for them, but you can't follow them.
No, you can pray for them, but you can't follow them. That's actually such a great point.
Yeah.
Actually, do you want to tackle some of these comments early on?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this way we stay on top of them. All right.
Absolutely.
So first and most important, Go Team by
Go Team, Go Dale.
Go Dale. Right, and we got Norm with great to be with y'all. Great to have you.
Welcome to Norm and Eileen.
Marianne says,
Good evening.
It's great how Bishop Meikle addresses the most recent church shaking news. And have you heard that SSPX is totally banned from Lourdes? Crazy.
Yes, actually, I had that as a possible topic for tonight, but we can certainly bring that up too. So Our Lady of Lourdes, here's the problem. I don't know if you guys knew this, but they actually let the Muslims have like a prayer tent at Lourdes, but Pius X's not allowed. There's a prayer area in the Vatican for Muslims.
Why am I laughing? That's not even funny.
But I mean, this is where we're at, folks, right? That's how you know. There's a real how the order of battle is, right? Like, you can find secular people that are actually on our side.
Of course.
You can find what I call people of goodwill, like in the Gospel of Matthew. You know how the angels appeared to the shepherds in the Nativity story. And where we get our Gloria from, right? Where it says, glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace to men of goodwill. So that's the proper translation. Not everybody has a proper translation in their Bible. It's like peace on earth or something like that. No, it's peace to all men of goodwill. So, and that's an important distinction, because there are people like Aristotle, who never heard the gospel, would nonetheless be on our side with this stuff, right? How do we know? Because we know how he reasoned. So, So the thing is that there are piles of secular allies that actually, even though they have yet to embrace the gift of faith, they still understand that it's in tradition and the framework of the old faith that will bring civilization some sense of sanity and safety for them, even if they're not religious themselves. So we have allies in the non-Catholic and non-Christian spheres, but there tend to be people that share our what we call natural law values, right? Yeah. And so it's be far better to fill a city full of Stoics than have Dearborn, Michigan, right?
Right.
So it is what it is. I don't care what names certain people want to call me on the internet. As far as I'm concerned, I would not have what's going on there go on for a minute.
Yeah, no, totally. Let me see here. Cynthia says, I just can't wrap my head around it.
Sounds so bizarre. I'll let you read it and then I'll comment there, Felix. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Cynthia says, I just can't wrap my head around this Pachamama insanity, creature versus creator.
Yeah, absolutely. It's complete craziness. I don't know what it is either. I'm just fixing my.
Where's Jesus in the Pachamama story? Like, I mean, like, there's so many questions that I think if you ask them, could just reasonably lead you to the point like this is bad news.
Yeah, absolutely, Felix. And in fact, actually, Felix, why don't you switch it so that we'll put up our cards and we'll put the comments under beneath us. We should just sort of do that as standard operating procedure. I don't know I don't have the buttons.
Oh, understood. Yeah, hold on, I got that right here.
Yeah, there you go. So, and for some reason, I have this bar on the bottom of my screen. It's blocking some of your comments, so it's not your fault, guys. I'm having technical difficulties. Poor Felix probably thought, where did he go? Because I was signed in and then I had to disappear again. And my computer seems to have a mind of its own. All the software that used to work perfectly now wants to do things. But yeah, this whole so part of this is there's this notion amongst postmodern leftist feminist thought, and in fact, you can take courses on it at university that are talking about this divine feminine and stuff, and they don't mean any kind of reverence or veneration for a blessed mother. They want the mother goddess. And so the Pachamama fills that mother goddess. That's why when they say, oh, it's Our Lady of the Amazon, they are BSing you. Oh, yeah. No. That's their...
When did Lady Pachamama have her nativity and have Jesus? Because even from what I understand, that's not in the story. She gave birth to the earth, and it's like some nonsense. So it's not Jesus. Right? Am I wrong? Like she gave birth to
well, okay. Oh, actually, Felix, you're brilliant because you're bringing up a very important distinction. I want everyone to think about, because some of you have thought about this and some of you have never thought about this. Okay, there are two kind of common definitions or understandings or frames of what mother is. Okay, is mother a creator or is mother a bearer? And so
bearer.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So Christians see mother as carrier, as bearer. Mother is not author of life. Mother is co-author of life with Father and God.
That's right.
So that is a very important distinction, because there's even a lot of Christians, either liberal Catholics or non-Catholics, who their frame of mother is, well, you hear them when they talk about men and female issues. Well, men can't do what women can do. Well, correct, and vice versa, right? But anyway, no. But when they go on, they go, well, mother can create life. Mother doesn't create life. Not in a Christian understanding. Mother bears life. That is why. Now, this is why it's important. It's an important distinction, even if we didn't have this stupid Pachamama thing. The reason is that's why so many Protestants are upset at Mary's title, Mother of God. Because if they think mother's creator, how can a woman create God? She can't. But that's not what we ever said. Mother is a bearer. Okay. Mother is so our blessed mother in a Catholic understanding, she's like a sacred chalice. In other words, she's the vessel. She's not the creator. She's the container. Yeah. And then you get people flying off the handle. Oh, you degrade women with this. It's not degrade. What greater honor could there be?
Queen of Heaven. What more do you want?
God Himself, right?
Yeah, Queen of Heaven. What? How else? How nicer? I mean, what better title is there? I mean, for human, right?
When I was younger, Felix, these feminists have it down, right? Especially with young men.
Yeah.
If they think that you have a kind heart, which I hope I do. I mean, I'm a little hard getting older, but no, but I mean, you'll push back on them with just proper theology. And then they put this hurt, like, I'm so wounded. I can't believe, young man, that you would say these evil things against my holy feminism. And then they'll try to make you feel like crap. And I used to feel bad when I made anyone feel bad, right? So I would sort of backtrack a little bit. I wouldn't change my mind, but I would be more, I guess, accommodating for them to leave stuff out there. And then I realized that this is what leftists do to manipulate you, right? At some point you mature and you realize that. So as soon as I detect that, I get kind of loud and nasty, because it's the only thing they understand. And I'm not that way by nature, but I really don't appreciate being manipulated or the attempted manipulation of this feminist nonsense. And I hope there's no feminists watching, because I think you're a fool. But anyway, tell us how you really feel, Mikkel. But no, I mean, seriously, it is contrary to a traditional Christian understanding. And we're not talking about, natural law justice. Like, for example, if a woman sells a widget and I sell a widget, yes, we should, get the same price for the widget. I'm not talking about that kind of, I guess, concern that there's a fairness or justice. I'm talking about this notion that we should defer to their back crap craziness with regard to theology when it happens, when it raises its head, because it's like this. First of all of us are but dust, right? And so, if we have to seek and align with the divine will, and understand that God created us in His image, male and female, but that He revealed Himself as Father and always in the masculine, and He gave us His mother to represent the holy feminine. He did not. The mother is subordinate. That's true. She's creature. She's holy creature, but she's creature. Whereas, and our Holy Mother Mary changed because she lived in time. She's a creature of time, in time. But God Himself is immutable. So, when you have a functioning, and I hope you have one, to the viewer, I hope you have this. And if you don't, I hope your parents were a good example, or at least you had friends who were an example, or something to that effect, of male-female complementarity where each honors the other. And it's a beautiful thing. There's no need, in such an environment, there's no need for the wife to go backcrap crazy and start worshiping Andean earth goddess, right? Yeah. You have your God, you have our Blessed Mother. There's no need for this stupidity. And and it's not really the feminists or the flaky New Agers that are at fault. It's effeminate, derelict, apostate, priestly men with holy orders that don't know what their holy orders are for because they don't know what their baptism is for. And they sell out our Lord Jesus. Worse than Judas. Because at least Judas probably tried in his own twisted way to honor God. And somehow, in his twisted way, his heart got darkened and he did this horrible betrayal of our Lord. But he probably rationalized it, some foolish thing of how it was going to be better for all. And then when he realized the horror of what he did, instead of asking our Lord for forgiveness, which would have been given, he killed himself.
Ironically, yeah.
So, but the thing is, that's what we're doing as society, folks. There's two ways. We all crap the bed, right? But here's the thing. You can screw up like Peter or you can screw up like Judas. So our civilization is kind of like Peter. We deny our Lord all the time in the 21st century. We deny Him as a nation. We deny Him as a church. We deny Him as a baptized person whose duty is to evangelize and to baptize in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost to the whole world. We have failed in that duty. The rise of false religions all around us, including secularism, the rise of these religions have happened because we were not faithful to our baptismal duty as a Christian people, across denomination, cross church community. And because of that infidelity, God has given us over to the foreigners to rule over us. And so this is, and when I mean foreigners, I mean in particular the unbaptized. And so we can, I'm not talking about,
not like the secular, the non-Christians, I think is what but and again, to bring it back to Guadalupe, or even before that, just imagine the original church coming to Native America. Just imagine if instead they were like, oh, Quetzalcoatl is actually he's actually Jesus, but he came to just like, you get more Christians from standing up to the evil, not trying to appropriate it or justify it or enable it. That's right.
Right.
I don't know.
Sorry, I got distracted.
No, I hear you. Now, Father Haygood, first off, hi. He says, "Whoa, I just missed the whole intro. YouTube did not go live when you did." And
I don't know. Did you? Did anybody else have that problem?
I got a notification on my phone. I did, but
okay.
And you know what though? I just think these shenanigans hopefully won't be going on too much longer, from what I've been seeing with the channel analytics. So we'll see.
Good.
Leroy Baber says it's the Marxist narrative, the evils of colonialism.
Right.
That's right.
I like to stir the pot, Leroy. Maybe you're the same way. When people go on about that, I just say, you should be thankful for your baptism.
Yeah. How unfortunate that they brought civilization to this to this part of the world. Yeah. Now, and again,
Felix, were you going to say the word savage?
Yeah, no, well, I used savage, I think, twice or three times already today in this podcast because there was a bunch of savagery going on before Columbus got here, and
No, but I mean, what would you call people that offer human sacrifice, right?
Savages? I'll call them savages, pagans. I mean,
right.
And like,
so it's just words evolve in their use. That's all.
Yeah. Like,
but yeah,
sacrifice is now like Planned Parenthood. I'm sorry.
Right, and no, it is true. Leroy's right. Like colonialism did have its bad characters, exactly. Sure. But I'll tell you right now, like, have you noticed, like, we sort of had as much as computers have evolved, there's been sort of a plateauing on our human development in a healthier way, and so really we've been marking time since the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I hope that some of these prophecies are true, right? I prefer to call them pious hopes that we'll have like a divine illumination and stuff like that, because that would be, not that anyone's going to want the sufferings of the chastisement that's predicted, but far better that it's kind of like when you have a storm, like a really rough thunderstorm, and then you come out afterwards and the air smells like it's been cleansed and sometimes even nature itself, a lot of people don't realize forest fires are also naturally occurring. It's not just people being careless with Smokey the Bear. They lightning strikes and cause a forest fire, but that renews that portion of the forest. It gets rid of all the dead wood and the forest grows again anew. So likewise, I think we're going to have a clear cut of the Marxists.
Yeah. And you know what? So Leroy, the Marxist narrative focusing on that, and this is, I think, this is how you can tell, was such an easy way to show how evil Marxism truly is. All right, because it is almost antithetical to Christianity, to Catholicism.
100% is.
It's even just to the bare point of Marxism does not believe in forgiveness. They don't understand that concept. Okay, like there is no genuine redemption. There is no, there's no forgiveness. I guess there's only so many other ways I could say it, but and that is why it goes against Christianity. That's why they can't have like any type of Christianity in their midst when they're in control.
No, absolutely. I mean, actually, that is true. I mean, it's the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah.
But how men resolve difficulties versus angry women. I'm not saying that. Well, it's hard to generalize, because fact of the matter is the problem isn't women generally. It's bad men. But men bad because they don't live their duties of baptism, not because they're manly, because they don't live their duties of baptism if they're bad.
That's right. Now, Marianne says Pachamama is also a manifestation of this growing modern Earth is Mother relationship. There you go, where people feel
absolutely,
very drawn
Mary, you're right on. And the thing is, we think about, not everybody has had a good relationship with their mother. I hope the viewers have, right? But even if you haven't, you know what our Blessed Mother is. But let's look at a good relationship with a mother. A mother is where a young child feels safe, is loved, is taught, taught how to become an older child, and there's that atmosphere of nurturing and safety and all those things, and that's a holy thing. That's holy aspects of motherhood. And even if you're not a biological mother, that's kind of hardwired into you if as a woman, most women, and that's a very different issue than a Mother Earth who is the creator and the author of life and death. Because get this, that's where this whole unaliving of little children comes from.
That's right.
See, if Mother is a creator and has power over life and death, and they are a goddess, and they can take that. That's the only authority.
And they have the right. We don't have the right to tell them. They have the right to choose. Right? That actually gets really deep, Father.
And it's not like you're killing unaliving. It's not like you're unaliving somebody that's breaking into your home, and you're defending your little ones in your home. The kind of murder. Oh, I said it again. The kind of unaliving that goes on by these people is the innocent that have no one to speak
The
for them.
innocent.
So that's the problem, right? Like, I mean, it's funny because sometimes men are called warmongers and some are, right? But it's funny because you look at some female politicians and jeepers, they'll
Oh yeah. No,
on the
again,
plus side, if you're in the military, I mean, they're supportive of it, but it's just kind of weird. It's almost like you're wondering, are they trying to overcompensate so that people won't say they're soft, or I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. There's just it could just be like, again, especially if you feel you have that type of autonomy or that type of power over the life that you bear, or that I mean, God only knows. And it's just, I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that. I saw. Let me read this one. Leroy says a Greek term is Theotokos.
God bear. Exactly.
That's right. Marianne says the Dems want to eliminate name of mother and just call them birthing people. Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah, but the problem with that, Mary, is that apparently with some surgical alteration, they can simulate that with males too. So I guess everybody's just a birthing person in their head.
Birthing person. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine like how? And it's funny because their excuse for using that terminology is to show respect, and it is probably one of the most it's just one of the most dehumanizing terms. Instead of mother, a birth giver. I don't. It's just so like clinical and institutional. I don't know.
Well, it just sounds stupid too. I don't.
Dumb. Yeah.
It's just absolutely ridiculous, and it's really degrading to women. This whole last chapter, this whole business since 2015 or whatever, has been the most ridiculous attack on women yet. Oh, and it's just funny. It's like everybody got NPCized or something, right? They're all like a bunch of zombies. So the men were at fault letting it happen, and then once it took hold and the women started getting in power, they all started acting like idiots too, and no one would call a spade a spade.
That's right.
Crap to bed.
Crap to bed. I say that all the time too. I think it's from you, from hanging out with you. I know I say it. We're actually caught up. We're actually caught up in I'm leaving on Monday. Father Hager says I'm leaving on Monday for Florida. Next week's episode, I'll be watching from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Oh, wonderful. There you go.
Oh, nice.
I think I went through Chattanooga once on the way to somewhere else.
Yeah. We have reached the end game of the revolution, the war on reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So someone said, and it's funny because I'm almost have an addiction. Well, almost have an addiction to information. I just love learning and learning different points of view and stuff. And I have this program called Evernote. Some of you probably have it too, and it's good because you can copy thoughts, or you can put in an article and then put a tag, and if you need to find it, you can find it later. So that's kind of cool. But anyway, one of these things is that that I've noticed is that it really is a battle against reality itself. And also what's kind of troubling in this electronic age is I really think that they're going to try to rewrite a lot of history and stuff if we're not careful. So one of the downsides of electronic stuff, and I'm guilty of this too. I remember when I used to be in the military, we'd have these moves, and I'd have the boxes and boxes and boxes of books. And one time the poor mover was like, she was like, she had to do this all by herself. Her coworkers didn't show up, and she was moving these heavy book boxes. And she was like, I heard this exasperated sigh in the other room, and I hear her say, "Oh no, not more books." And yeah, I used to have lots of them. But what happened after a couple moves or whatever, I have switched a lot. I mean, I still have a lot of physical ones, but nowhere near what I used to because of these moves and stuff. And I've moved to electronic. Well, that's a serious cost. So, of course, the seminary has physical copies of all this stuff. But in my day-to-day use, I Kindle and Evernote and that kind of thing. It's easier to access all this stuff, search for a quote. You get accustomed to it. But the cost is, if you don't have a physical copy somewhere, is that, nefarious groups could rewrite all this stuff.
True. So yeah, wow. Usually we have comments to go through. I should have let
No,
them
it's funny
up.
because some nights we go. Like, remember, Felix, we've had nights where we go till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I mean, at 3 a.m, 3 hours.
Well, 3. Yeah, we went close to 4.
We went close to 4, really?
We went to
so
last
it just
week.
depends on the mood of the folks, what they want to talk about. And sometimes sometimes the topic kind of leads itself and people get into it. And then others, it's like you're preaching to the converted, so no one has anything else to say.
So yeah, right.
That might be one of these ones. So I will say, okay, so a couple announcements then before when you guys, if you think of something clever to weigh in for Felix and I to talk about too, then please fire it in. But I wanted to mention 2 things. So first is the Prochadamus Gala. I don't know when Father Martin's raising the ticket price, but it's soon. It's either this week sometime. Originally, it was 1st of September, but if you do want to attend it, now's the time to buy the ticket because I think they're half price. So there, you go to www.prochadamus.com. Just type Prochadamus Gala in the Google bar, and it'll come up. And I'll try to put a link below, but I didn't today yet. But I'll try to remember to put it in there. And second of all, tomorrow, Unspoken Issues. So Father LaFour, Father Martin, and myself will be on at 7 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll be talking about the things like we would talk about in our rectory, but we were inviting you to come and join that conversation. So you're welcome to join us. And we're going to talk a little bit about, what's going on in the church and in particular, how the traditional movement is growing in its various different forms in this place and time.
Yeah. Cool. So we have Marianne says, also the biggest emphasis is on plants and herbs. Look how popular marijuana is. A friend told me the last time he visited NYC, he was shocked by the smell of marijuana everywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of like skunk butt. I mean, I was very lucky that I grew up fairly sheltered. We had kids that used to use recreational drugs in my school, but they were we had a small graduation class, and there was a couple that would hang out, but it was funny. They were never considered like the cool kids. I know some schools that it is, right? In my era in time, they were just like, we would call them the potheads, and they were nice people, but they would just they would all talk to you like Jim on Taxi. So those of you who are my age or older, you remember Jim on Taxi, and that's what they were all like. They were like, yeah, man, and they were, and no one with any kind of brain in their head would want to risk their brain to become like that. So I didn't need Nancy Reagan with her eggs, because I was like, I didn't want to be one of those. So I actually navigated all my life without any of that. Other than I joke, I say other than caffeine and now Guinness. Yeah, that's about the only substance I have. But it is funny because the smell, I didn't really know what it was, but then you learn, okay, it smells like skunk.
It smells like armpit. Yeah, it's really it's pretty bad.
But the thing is, here's the thing. It stores in the brain for almost a month in the fat cells around the brain. And with frequent use, and my understanding is that they changed the potency over the years, so that what I grew up with and what many of you my age or older, may have been exposed to in college or whatever, that's nothing like what some of these they got now. And so you've got these people. What has happened with the increased potency is something called pot psychosis. And it's interesting because I've met some people that have had it that have admitted the hallucinations and the stuff like that. And it's like, you guys say it's medicinal, but I mean, okay. And I'm sure I'm going to get comments about it. Oh, Father, you don't realize it's cured my fear of spiders or something, whatever. I mean, I've heard all the arguments, and it's true, I suppose, that beer's probably on some counts more unhealthy for you than that. But the problem is that long-term use of anything, abuse of anything is harmful. But, you really, I would not trust anything that stores around the brain for 30 days. It's just, to me, that's I may have had to, in my younger years, have to apologize for my liver, to my liver, but I've never had. And you just see a difference in manner. Like, it's weird, especially if you're in a town where everybody partakes of that. Everybody's just sort of like, yeah, man. It's like Yeah, it's very hard for me to do.
It's a little much. Now, just out of pure transparency, I'm actually very pro marijuana to a certain degree. I am not pro what we're seeing now. I do not like the bastardization of it. I would say, like, there was a comic who had a joke one time who was like, he was into pot, but he just hated the culture. And it's like you said, it's like I can't be in a room with somebody who's like, oh, it's 420, man, it's time to toke up. You know, like I can't get away from me. You know that.
Yeah.
But and again, I'm willing to accept that I'm probably wrong, and you know, like these are things that I'm still studying. But I think a lot of people would have gotten more help from marijuana use instead of some of the garbage that was prescribed to them for mental illness, for you know, like even like
okay,
Prozac
well,
and
that's
things
interesting
like that.
thought. So again, you know, the church frowns upon marijuana as a recreational substance. You know, but the thing is that now it's a legitimate medicinal substance. Is there a way? So there's a debate on that, right? And there's going to be a spectrum amongst the clergy, you know, and moral theologians, you know, what they think. But I think you make a very valid point compared to some of the medications that have been haphazardly, in some cases, quite
like
immorally, because they're basically
extremely
using people as human
harmful.
experiments.
Extremely harmful.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what? There was a story that I heard just the other day about like this lady who like sent her husband to the store and then like drowned her kids and then tried to off herself or whatever, and then she like blames the medication. She was on medication. I've heard too many stories about that to obviously there's you know, I think she's guilty. There's a level of accountability that needs to. However, there's also a level of accountability, and we have to come to a point to see what these types of medications are doing to the people. And let me tell you something. I have yet to see anyone go on some sort of murder spree from even the strongest marijuana. Like the strongest marijuana will put someone out, and
no, you won't get any argument with me there. In fact, it can be said, and I don't know about the science on the matter. So if some of you are more learned on me than me on the science, you know, anecdotally, it seems that different variants of alcohol react with people differently, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, a glass of wine does not have the same effect on a sailor as a bottle of dark rum.
Yeah.
I've been a witness at so many court martials, I can't even tell you how many. Fortunately, never charged myself, but I was trying to keep people out of jail. But I'm just saying, like, it is funny. Like, if someone has a couple Guinness, for example, you get the bloat before it even goes to your head. Like, I mean, it's so thick, and it's actually relatively low alcohol content. So contrast that with a glass of wine to and not all hard alcohol makes people go crazy, but some seem to, you know. So again, I don't know whether that's just a cultural thing or whether there's a chemical, maybe it's the sugars, like rum's full of sugar. I don't know. But it is kind of interesting because I've seen it. I've definitely seen that depending on what variety of alcohol is made available to a group of military population, the whole mood changes.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen I've seen how bad people can get on alcohol. But I would say that the argument that it's medicinal, I think, is a little. I think there's a bit of truth to that.
You think alcohol can be medicinal?
No, but well, I mean, technically, right?
Well, you know, okay. Well, I mean, this is interesting. I hadn't even thought about it that way, but. Well, I mean, even Scripture mentions wine to settle stomach, right? So, I mean, I don't know. It's I guess in some respects, anything we can all agree, regardless of what we think of some forms of naturally occurring recreational substance, that anything outside of moderation is bad can be abused. And secondly, there are legitimate medical uses for certain substances that would probably be inappropriate to use just whatever, right?
Because,
so I'm thinking in terms of there's some research that certain types of psychedelics can help PTSD. but I don't know.
That
Right,
doesn't
I don't, I'm
mean
just
go out and trip out because it you know what I mean, like to go do it recreationally. Now, I'm a little bit more nuanced when it comes to pot, because I would say I kind of compare it to coffee. You know, I mean, do you need coffee to operate? Some might say yes. You know what I mean? Or
yeah. You
like,
don't want to talk to me in the morning without coffee.
right? You don't want exactly. You know what I mean? But
I mean, it's
I
not like I can't function. It's just, quite honestly, I'm just not as nice.
same thing. It's the exact wow, Father. I can't believe actually. I can't believe we got to that point, but it's almost the same thing for pie. And in fact, I would argue it's not as extreme as it is with coffee. But
Interesting. Do you know, once? Okay, see, let me know in the chat if you guys, we got to get to Mary too, but let me know in the chat if any of you guys had this experience too. Is that one? So once upon a time, like, I drink a lot of coffee. A priest friend of mine, we used to have, when I worked in military chaplains, it was just two of us, and we went through like 3 crafts in the morning, just the two of us, right? So we drank a lot of coffee, and but the thing is that one year, on my parish year, actually, I made friends with an Irish family, and they were away from their family. I was away from my family, so we befriended one another.
Yeah.
And they always drank tea. So I started drinking tea. Well, every year, you know, I'd give up coffee for Lent, and I would give up as part of my thing. And that particular year, I gave up tea. Do you know that giving up that tea was the worst Lent I've ever had?
Really?
I had no, in the sense of, you know, your Lent is supposed to be penance for you, not for everybody around you, right? I don't know whether it was just the period of life or whatever. I mean, I'm back to coffee now. I like tea, but I don't drink it every day.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I was just grumpy, and that was a very bad. I say it's a bad Lent because, again, I don't think I was nice to other people, and I kept to my promise, but I didn't. And I will say, you know, if you ever give up something that you might have a bit of an addiction for. And when I say addiction, I don't mean like a clinical addiction. I mean, like, you know, you have a coffee habit or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you should really not, like, go back on Sunday and start it again. It's like, if you're gonna go cold turkey on a habit like that, then go cold turkey on it. But I wouldn't recommend. Don't give up anything that's gonna hurt other people.
Yeah. Now, was this King of? I don't know what KOSJ means. I don't know, but
okay, just read his whole comment because I can't see it on the screen.
Understood. He says, "What do you call your position regarding when the Holy See became vacant?" From Benedict. I can't seem to find that term online. Is he talking about Sedevacantist?
Oh, okay, yeah. The popular one right now, KOS, is interregnumist.
Oh, well, okay.
So that's the popular term. I've never applied it to myself, but that's the popular term, and I probably am. Like, the way I look at it is this: it's above my pay grade. So when, you know, people, my Sede friends, I have a lot of Sede friends, and they say, and I'm not, but they make fun of me. That's fine. I make fun of them too. No, right. They their position, they have a very reasoned argument. Like, they're not fruitcakes. Like, people that dismiss them as fruitcakes, they don't understand. Like, it's a very reasoned argument. There's a lot of data points in favor of their position. So the thing is that my problem, I have 2 reasons, just personal reasons. These aren't things that are going to be like, you know, I'm going to get up there with Andrew Wilson and debate, you know, and win. No. But my gut tells me that Paul VI was valid but bad, and he wasn't all bad. There was a couple things he did good, but he was valid but really bad. And the reason why I say that is, I think when he laid aside the tiara, I think it had spiritual effect. I don't think it was just giving away a fancy hat. So that's just a personal theory. I don't expect anybody, including of my own flock, to necessarily agree with me on it, but it's a fun thing to discuss. My position is, it's above my pay grade to determine what God's relationship is with any particular pope or claimant to the papacy. And I reject the argument that by being what they used to call the interregnum, they used to call Beni Vacantists. That's sort of the colloquial, the fun name for it, but it's it's not really accurate. But anyway, the thing is that the so people they'll say, my Sadie friends will bring up that there were issues with John Paul II, like kissing the Quran, like Buddha on the altar. There was issues with Benedict, because especially early Benedict in the 60s was pretty liberal. And even later Benedict, there's some stuff that you could read that it's kind of strange. Myself, I like Benedict. I didn't like what he did to us, unleashing the Francis on us, but there is a possibility that God told him to do that. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we'll find out. There's so much of this story we're only going to find out when we meet our Lord, and we might not even care. If you see heaven or Blessed Mother and all our friends the saints, and you're not going to care.
Yeah, here's your new eternity. Don't worry about your past 80 years.
Yeah, maybe after 3,000 years in heaven, we might, say, hey, St. Peter, what happened there? What happened in the 21st century anyway? Like, was it funny tobacco or something at the Second Vatican Council? But no, but it is interesting. I love hearing different people's theories. So Father Martin, I don't think he really believes it, but he does it to stir the pot. And I mean, I know he believes in his argument. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying.
I understand.
I don't know how. Let's put it this way. I don't know how certain he is in this thing. But when Sede say that, the Cardinal Siri theory, and I apologize if people don't know what I'm going on about, but we won't get too far in the rabbit hole. But to his Sede friends that believe in the Cardinal Siri theory and whatever, Father Martin likes to point out that Pius XII actually did more damage than John the 23rd to tradition. And there's an argument to say, there's a lot of arguments to say that he did. So really? That's an interesting discussion. I don't hate Pius XII, and I don't hate John the 23rd, and I don't hate anybody. I think Paul VI was very bad, but not all bad. Everything and I think John Paul II was mostly good, but boy, when he went off the rails, it was pretty scary. And Benedict, I'm still a little growly at for unleashing the Francis, the terrible on us. And Leo's just a smarter, nicer Francis. So it's not, it is what it is. We all got to deal with it, right? Like he was far more into the Pachamama than Francis was as a priest. So what do we do with that?
Right.
You have an idolatrator in the highest rank of the church by the information that we have, right? So yeah. So, but again, it's not for me to say that, well, he's definitely not Pope. I can't say that. What I can say is what he teaches I can't follow, because he doesn't follow the old faith. So you pray for him. I pray for him every day. I prayed for Francis every day. I probably prayed more for Francis than most fans of Francis did. But I didn't agree with them. And you know what? He did some things that I hope were of the best of intention, like he tried to help Pius X, Society of Pius X. But I don't know. He's pretty crazy. Like, I mean, these guys just have a very different understanding of the world. And modern Vatican's behind this Agenda 2030, folks. So, I mean, I don't know if you've done any research on that, but read up on that and you tell me if that's what our Lord would want us to do. So this is kind of the thing. It's kind of like that book, Lord of the World. See, I should have a ding when I do it. Like
I know, right?
Let's see if I can get this to work. Sometimes I have this little. Can you hear that?
No. Can you hear me still by any chance? Can you still hear me?
No. Yeah, I can hear you.
How dare you?
Can you hear that?
Yeah, definitely. We gotta have that.
Yeah.
We got that little overlay for that too.
Yeah, I should do that every time you mention Lord of the World. I'll play this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the Star Trek actors, I watched a couple of them. Jonathan Frakes and Brett Spiner. They have this very cleverly named show, dropping names or whatever. It's just
that's so weird. I just watched a clip with them today too.
They're funny. I think they're really they seem to be very nice people in real life. But anyway, they have a lot of people on there, like a lot of actors from the 70s and 80s. They had one of the actors from Frasier on there one day, and it's interesting because all the connections that everybody knows one another, and so their little gimmick is they ring a bell whenever somebody drops a name. So yeah, we gotta have a noise for Lord of the World and a couple of things like that, Felix.
Yeah.
But let's read Leroy's comment.
All right, so well, my wife and I are book lovers. Neither of us are big Kindle fans like Frank Wright. I'm one of those people that has wasted his life on books.
Yeah. Well, it's ideally you have the physical book, but the problem is if you read them in volume, you run out of space. So if I, even in the office I have right here, if I move the camera around, well, you'd see some untidiness, but you would also see just stacks and stacks of books everywhere. And then the library, I've taken my stuff in there, so there's stacks and stacks on the table because we're gonna have to get rid of some of the lesser valuable stuff on the shelves and make room. But yeah, it looks like sort of a mad scientist or a place or whatever. But yeah, and that's kind of why I moved to electronic too, or better yet, you have a paper copy and an electronic copy.
Ooh.
Well, hello, Jim.
Yeah, peddling
Welcome.
Miss Gracie says greetings from Southern Vermont. Just got home from work to join in. A Novus Ordo priest in Bennington, Vermont, sings prayers in Latin and finishes his homily with "Praise be Jesus Christ."
Isn't that wonderful? Well,
Thank
I'm glad that he does. For a minute there, see, I don't see the bottom part of your comment there, Jim, for just a quirk on my screen. It's never done this before, but so
that could have it's could have gone a lot
the
worse.
comments anyway. But I was horrified that you might say, he's praising Pachamama or something because it was the top. Right. But yeah, that's good. No, that's good.
Yeah,
that's just it. There's a lot of really good Novus Ordo priests, right? So I get some of my Sadie friends get growly at me for being nice to Novus Ordo, but there's a lot of holy
those good priests are going to get chased out eventually. They're going to get chased out of there.
Yeah, they'll either retire or they'll they'll be run out eventually. The synodal stuff is just going to kill everything. It's a heartbreak, right? Because people have given their whole lives to the religious orders or to the priesthood, and then they're strangers in their own church.
Yeah, that's right. And then let me see. St. Anthony asks, did you watch Cardinal Burke's interview with Michael Knowles? So,
St. Anthony, if you would like, why don't you give us your just type in the comment what you got. So did I saw clips. My main thing where I differ with Cardinal Burke 180 degree difference. Like he and I are so like. If you were to ask what Novus Ordo figure that I would follow, it's Bishop Athanasius Snyder. So Bishop Snyder and Cardinal Burke are polar opposite. They're friends and they're friendly, but they're polar opposites on how they are navigating this weird period. So basically, Cardinal Burke would say, you go to the Novus Ordo versus Pius X or with like a group like mine. That basically the Novus Ordo is to be preferred because it's regular with Leo. And Bishop Snyder would be more of the feeling that you got to go where the faith is. So where this rubber meets the road is a difference in understanding of what Catholic is. And we can have differences of opinion, folks. It's, I go on, I have my little rant and stuff, but, you'll find in person, 90% of the time we'll agree to disagree. And if I don't understand your position, I'm sincerely curious. I want to understand it and hopefully share with you some of the reasons for mine. And if we both believe that we're just serving God in a different path, and that's fine, right? I don't hate someone or insult someone for seeing things differently. So where I disagree with Cardinal Burke is Cardinal Burke puts a lot more faith in the power of the institution, and I put more faith in the 20 doctrinal councils that I believe, contrary to what he believes, that I don't believe the institution can override that. So basically, his model would be that God works through the existing hierarchy in union with Leo, and that that good will come out of it, even though there's imperfect popes and imperfect cardinals. So that's his school of thought. And then sometimes people say, well, Michelin, that makes you a Donatist. No, I'm not a Donatist. A Donatist is someone, for those of you who don't know, a Donatist used to believe that unless the priest or bishop was really, really holy, his sacraments weren't valid. So no, I'm not that. What I'm saying is that in my view, they are rewriting the faith right before our eyes. And the problem is that, even in Cardinal Burke's decisions that he has made as a canon lawyer and as a judge, run counter to the old faith. There is no one pre-1960 that would agree with Cardinal Burke. No one. And then he's held up as this great pinnacle of tradition. And again, I don't mean to knock him. I thank him for his exhortation. I liked what he said about, fight for tradition. But I just think that if I was his friend and he asked me, I would say, Your Eminence, you're a prayerful man. You're an inspiration to so many. I think that in the spirit of Acts 5, you should be kinder to the irregulars, the trad irregulars, because they themselves would probably also want to share some of your mission. But he basically condemns us if we're outside the institution. So, but the problem is we can't get the old faith in the institution.
Right.
I mean, here's the red pill for some of you who have never considered it. If you go to Novus Ordo, you at some point, if you haven't understood this now, you will. Okay. And when I went through it, it was a very traumatic thing almost. The leadership of the church does not share your faith. All right. They don't share it. They don't share the same concept of God. They don't share the value of Scripture. They don't share the value of the saints. They don't share understandings of miracles. They don't share Catholic morality that you probably do. They actually do not share any of those things. And so they have one thing in their books, and they have another thing they actually do and advise privately. And I could give you countless of examples. I sometimes say, Felix has heard me say it, I say, not everybody can handle how the sausage is made. Or as Jack Nicholson says, you can't handle the truth. There are a lot of people that can't. They're fragile. That's fine. I'm not condemning you if you're fragile. In other words, there are people that view the faith as just something that's their one place of sanity. Like they have a chaotic life. They go to church for peace. They don't want this division. They don't want these fights. They don't want these theological disputes. And they've gone through life. I'm going to trust my pastor and trust my bishop. And it doesn't.
Right.
And yes, you should, with one caveat. It's like St. Cyprian used to say. He used to travel to his parishes, and he used to tell them, sometimes it was a year since he saw the parish last. And he says, if I ever come back and I preach a gospel different than I've been preaching to you, then pray for me, but don't follow me. Okay, so that's kind of the way I say it. Like I tell my folks, and Felix can tell you too, I tell my flock all the time, fact check me, fact check me, fact check me. Why? Because sometimes the stuff is so crazy that's going on in the world. I don't want them to think I'm making it up. So I want not to say you can't find counter opinions. Of course you can. But what I'm saying is that I simply point to the 20 doctrinal councils and the scriptures and the thoughts and the writings of the saints. Okay. So that's all anything that I have of value that I can give any viewer is just curating those things. I do sometimes share my opinion, but I try to always tell you that's just my opinion. You don't have to follow it. I have all kinds of, like, I'm a little bit eccentric, for lack of a better term. I joke. I say I'm a Kevlar bishop, not a lace one. And what I mean by that is I think Christendom should be restored, right? So I think all Christian lands that were ever Christian should be Christian once again. And I believe that the main means of doing this is to hold baptized men according to the duties of their baptism, like soldiers. And so that's a kind of I don't know if you'd say it's fringe, Felix, or it's just different.
No.
Right?
Right, fringe, yeah.
But I mean, I don't push that on anybody, but I'm also very clear that that's the way I am, because I think that God wants us to overcome the world in peaceful means. Don't get me wrong. Is there a time for a crusade? Yes, absolutely. But that's not you exhaust all peaceful avenues. And you certainly don't convert by any kind of force, but you might have to defend your Christian lands by force. So what's happening to poor England and France right now, and Spain? Oh boy, right? The images of all these people just mobbing. Well, if you don't enforce that border, then you're not going to have a country left.
That's right.
And I don't know if you heard the horrors. You just pause this for 30 seconds or mute it for 30 seconds if you're I don't want to disturb you. Okay, so for 30 seconds, pause right now if you're squeaming.
Easily triggered.
But in England, jeepers, the infidel are defiling everybody. Like, they attacked the little girls, they attacked the little boys, and they even got a pensioner in the grounds of a church there last week. Go ahead and look it up. It's all over the news. It's all over Twitter. So basically, the guy got caught, and 20 minutes of torturing this poor old man, retired man. And it was a 30-year-old newcomer who doesn't share our baptism. And as far as I'm concerned, baptized or Christian lands are for the Christians.
Yeah.
And those groups that are compatible with us, of which there are many. You know, if you're a secular person of goodwill, you're compatible. If you're someone like Scott Adams, the late Scott Adams, he was someone like a Jordan Peterson. You know, he's not normatively Christian, but he wouldn't go against any of our rules. But
Right.
But these other false religions, they've got to go.
That's right.
In my opinion,
Now,
you guys don't have to follow it. I'll just say this. I admire the Cristeros a lot more than I admire synodality.
right. Now, Father Haga says, I was raised around cannabis. I have seen it work miracles. Whoa. Hey.
That's Bishop Meagle doing the face palm.
Oh, really? Hey.
No,
I've
I mean,
heard,
again,
I've heard it too.
we're all products of our backgrounds, right? So Monsignor, you're a lot younger than me too. So, and the different societal acceptances of different things are different for generation. But in my case, like no one touched that stuff. Like, you know, if you were, yeah, it's kind of funny because I mean, this is where Felix and you would share more than me because, but Felix is your age. Actually, Felix is closer to your age than mine, or I think he is. So yeah, so there's a bit of an age gap, and that's what I'm going to attribute it to. But we are, you know, it's funny because under certain circumstances, like I had a curiosity as a young person, but it would have to be not for that, but certain kinds of, you know, if it was a medical thing, you know, a medical experiment or what have you. But the problem is the risk of any kind of drug, and that includes excessive alcohol, is you open yourself up to demonic attack. So that's another thing that we haven't got into, but this is part of the reason why you have to watch any kind of chemical. I don't think anybody got, you know, demonic attack from too much caffeine, but you can't. I accidentally in university, I overdosed on caffeine. I don't know if any of you have done that. It's not pleasant. What happened was I took these little, I was studying for exams and I worked full time. I went to school full time and I had this paper due and I had all these exams to study for. And I took these wake up pills. I had a little rooster on the front. I still remember. And I took the maximum I was allowed. And then I drank my usual, you know, 3 crafts of coffee. Well, I was so useless. I was at work. I used to work at a bank. And my managers looked at me and I was like, it was every nerve in my body was like electrified. And totally unintentional, but it was like, it wasn't like I was hyper bouncing around. It was painful. It was like every nerve was like an electric fire. And my boss came over and he saw it in my eyes. He says, "What the heck happened to you?" And I said, "I was studying and I didn't read the package carefully, I guess, because I shouldn't have. I could take the pills, but I drank all this coffee with it and something just broke." And so all I did was, he said, I had a great boss. He just said, "Go in the staff room, just lie down. You're kind of useless to work." And I just drank water until it got out of my system. But that was scary.
Yeah, no, I bet.
And if you were an older person, you could probably do some damage to your heart or something, you know.
But yeah, and you know, and it's like those types of things don't even come with weed. It's a different. It is a different thing. Now, I'm with Father Haygood on this, where I think that there are really good things that can be achieved with it. However, this is so bizarre, but I wish it was stigmatized again. I don't like it I don't like it in the hands where the government gets to tell us whether we can do it or not or whatever.
Well, I see it as government using it as a form of control in some states, right?
You know what? That's actually 100%. And you know, and me playing devil's advocate to myself and siding with you here on this, there is a big part of me that does feel like we were coaxed to rebel with marijuana as teenagers, and then being told all these crazy things about weed and how good it really is for you. This,
How
that,
it
or the
cures
other.
all the diseases and all this kind of
But
stuff.
yeah, but again, it was like even though it was meant to be rebellious, I almost feel like it was a psyop.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? A psychological
Well,
operation
I
government,
notice. Okay, in worldview. Now again, it's the exceptions that prove the rule. You're always going to find exceptions, but I just found that the people that use those substances regularly had a common mindset that was very different than my own.
Ooh, yeah. Well, I mean, you know, there's coffee people, there's beer people, there's whiskey people, there's weed
Yeah.
people. You know, and I guess there is a level of pick your poison. I hate the culture that's grown around it. I just wish that it was almost like on the level of coffee or, you know, tea.
Well,
It's
I just
something
don't
like
want to
that,
smell
you know.
skunk butt. When I go for a walk,
Oh, right,
I
right.
don't want to. That smell is just nasty.
But you know what? I'm going to even push back on that because, again, we were both in the 80s, and I'll tell you what, I am actually, I'm probably going to get flamed for this. I miss the days where you could smoke in airplanes. I like, first off,
Oh my
this whole,
goodness.
like, like this whole non-smoking push
You know, they still make the airplanes with the smoking,
with little ashtrays.
smoking light. The switch is still in most of the aircraft. It's the
Why?
most ridiculous thing. I don't know any
Yeah.
airline that allows it.
You know why? Because when I see it, there's a little glimmer of hope. Maybe it's coming back. You know, I wish they would.
But Felix, that's got to be one of the craziest ideas ever. The idea that you're in a sealed tube with a controlled atmosphere, and you let people smoke in this.
Never had a problem. I would like to, unless there has ever been a case that someone lit up a cigarette and then the entire plane like blew up in flame, like went up in flames. I don't think that's ever happened.
No,
And
it hasn't. In fairness, it never happened. I mean, there are dangers. Aircraft, the emergency oxygen, whatever. You don't want that near a flame. But I mean, that's far away from wherever the ashtrays and everything were.
True.
And
and back then there were lounges.
But it's just, people don't want to breathe the smoke, right? But I guess they had a pretty good filter.
People don't want to breathe, but then all right, because there's people who don't want to breathe it, but there's people who want to smoke. So whose rights outweigh the others? You know what I mean? Like I think there should be a smoking section.
I used to be a member of the Eagles, the Fraternal Order of Eagles.
Okay.
And
I already know what you're gonna tell me.
Yeah, the reason they're great people, wonderful,
of course.
And I thought, well, this is great. This can be my local. I can go, and I like to go just as in the community and just sort of meet strangers and introduce myself and talk to people. And I couldn't do it. Listen, I never had a problem. Like growing up, both parents smoked, and Dad quit.
Yeah.
Dad got Mom hooked on it. He quit easily. She could never quit. So it's kind of funny. That's sometimes that works. But anyway, I was around it all my life, and it doesn't bother me. Like if a friend smokes in their house and I'm over there, it doesn't bother me. But if I go into a bar like that, like first of all, I'm glad it exists so that people that are smokers have the freedom to do so. I would just say that they should have like maybe a non-smoking section or whatever, just like behind like an airlock door or something, so people can go there if they don't want. Because I just walked in this wall, and I'm just like, oh man,
no,
it's just too much. Well, and when you're away from it, like I've been away, I haven't been around a smoker, like as far as like in a smoking area. Well, you're a pool player and stuff, Felix. You're probably still exposed to all that stuff, eh?
Yeah. So I mean, and again, sometimes, but then sometimes you walk into a bar and there's no smoking here. I'm like, what is this? What is this? Communist China? Really? And I bet you in communist China, you could walk into a bar and have a cigarette and probably have,
like the whole seatbelt debate.
Yeah, have your boiled penguin and as well, like whatever. But no, the whole seatbelt. First off, I'm with you. The seatbelt debate, that is a big scam because it's a giant money making operation, is what seatbelts are. All right,
Really?
and you can look up 100%.
Okay, now
100%.
this I gotta hear.
Whenever cops need to make a quota, what's the easiest way to pull someone over? You didn't have your seatbelt on. You didn't have your seatbelt on. And
Are you saying that they're saying they didn't? Like, in other words, they're making it up, or do you believe that people just don't wear them?
No, people like both. Well, actually, more so that people just don't wear them. My issue is
okay. Now
off,
this is fascinating to me because I don't know anybody who doesn't wear them now. But growing up,
I wear them all the time. Right, really? Right. No, I wear them all the time. I wear them all the time.
So on Sunday morning when I go, I often will drive down. I'm halfway down my street. I just gotta finish the buttons on the cassock, and then I put on the seatbelt. But the thing and it goes ding, ding, ding. But no. But the thing is that I don't like. I'm not. I've never been against seatbelts, and certainly flying airplanes, you want to be well strapped in.
Yeah, I'm not against seatbelts, Father. I'm against this fining if you're not wearing it. I think is absolutely disgusting. You know, it's if you're not wearing it, you're not wearing it. Okay, if you flip over your car and you happen to survive because you're wearing your seatbelt, great. Or maybe you flip over your car and you end up not strangling on your seatbelt because you didn't have it on. Would it be fair
to have different insurance rates for those who wear seatbelts and not?
I don't even believe in insurance, Father. I mean, you want to go down this road?
We probably don't. I don't have a lot of good experience with insurance either. You know what? Every insurance company I've ever had to make a claim has never paid the proper claim.
Yeah. Let's look at this business model. All right. This is what we're going to do. You give us money, and when you need it, we're going to tell you no over and over and over and over and over again. All right. Till either you give up or we only give you some of it. Like, insurance is another, again, you know what, Father? I don't know what's going on with me today. But it's,
I'm just winding you up today, apparently.
I know. I'm so sorry. But, all right, let me see. Because we got other comments here too. I have heard the term breeders used in gay circles regarding heterosexuals. There was a smile and wink given in a derogatory manner in terms of the myth of the population explosion. Thank you. Thank you,
Norm. Norm.
Bless you, Norm.
So that's it. For those of you who don't know, and Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson and me, but of course, far less audience or importance, have been saying for years that look at the demographics. We're not having enough young people. You need to have at least replacement rate young people. And there was a graph I saw the other day. I can't remember which show because I would have screenshot it. But basically, by political affiliation, only one side reproduces. So conservative Americans are almost at replacement rate. And left-wing Americans are actually plummeting down to something like 0.2. Like it's really quite dramatic. When you see it on a graph, you're like, holy crap. So no wonder they need to, blow up border walls and stuff too.
You've heard that adage before. It was like, liberals don't have kids; they have your kids.
Yeah, they become teachers. I will say this right now: if you can homeschool, I don't care if you're like, well, I'm not qualified. It doesn't matter.
Neither are they.
Someone once said, and he said, I would rather give my child a pack of cigarettes and a deck of cards and send them to a public school.
Amen. 100%.
And I'm not quite that bad, but I remember when he said it, I laughed. It was someone that you'd never think it would come, very gentlemanly fellow. I never thought I'd hear it come out of him, but he's just trying to be funny, but it was funny because but the thing is that if you send them, even in a red state, the teachers unions are all lefty, right? So we need good teachers unions again. It's kind of like the pediatricians. So some of you know this. There's two schools of pediatrician. There's one academy of pediatrician that's very crazy, the mutilate kids and stuff, and the other one is very sane. And so basically, I think we should have, and every state should have two teachers unions. Wouldn't that put a gear in the works? And so that people could realize, okay, do you belong to this? Maybe the conservatives would be called the Teachers Society instead of a union, or a guild. And as a little shout out to Chesterton and Block. But basically, I think that teachers should be able to have their choice of affiliation. And conservatives, I can understand why conservatives don't like unions, but maybe they could support a guild, and we can start creating these parallel, especially licensing institutions, right? So there should be a guild like St. Thomas More. There's a society called the Society of St. Thomas More for Catholic Lawyers. Well, great. Well, guess what? Why don't we have chapters of Thomas More lobbying the state to say, can we be the professional body for our members? So that, in other words, conservative regulators for conservatives, because we've got there's lots of arguments that would make sense against that, but jeepers, and that goes for educators too, because we can't.
But I think that sounds like a one-way ticket to civil war, though. Eventually, that's just another wedge.
Do you really think we're going to convince the lefties? The only way I see it out of this, avoiding that, Felix, talk about controversial issues here. But the only way we're going to avoid that is if they allow us just to outpopulate them. But I don't think they're going to. It's not going to be us that started it. It's not going to be us that starts it.
No, again, the problem is it's like, because here's what the problem is. 2 conservatives having 4 kids does not mean they have 4 conservative kids. All right. And again, especially if you're being.
But Felix, if they're not publicly educated, it does. That's
right.
That's what's breaking.
Yes.
That's what's breaking them. See, they didn't care if we had more kids as long as everybody went to public school.
I agree.
But especially since COVID, homeschool is the way to go.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, you're far better served. 90% of kids are far better served with a co-op model, like basically where you study on your own and then you get together with other families, say 3 times a week, and you might have guest teachers for certain, and then you hire individual tutors for certain things, like for math help and stuff. You're going to have a far better kid. There's just no question, because you send them to the wrong place, they're going to come back hating their God, hating their country, hating their parents.
And I can vouch for that. I've seen that in my own family. So it's 100% true. I think that's one of the biggest travesties. I said, like, during my senior year, or during my junior and senior year in high school, I was a chronic class cutter. Chronic. I almost did not graduate, and it's funny because, like, I was as much of a rebel I was trying to be. It probably did me a world of good just looking by not going there. I mean, maybe not because I was, smoking and drinking like an idiot, but on the one end, I wasn't being propagandized on the other end.
I opted out of my school, basically grade 11. Like I got graduated and everything, but what I did is I just went half days.
Yeah, after what? It's
like, I mean, it was funny. My dad was actually the head of personnel for that school region, and he knew. I never lied to him. Like, I told him what I was going on, and he did not approve. But he was one of these. He believed you learn from the consequences of your bad decisions, right? But in hindsight, no, it was great because I had a very good attitude with regard. Like, I liked all my teachers, but I didn't put up with their BS. So if they were very liberal or stuff like that, I was always exceptionally polite, but I also would not. So I respected their authority, but I wouldn't listen to their crap. I was self-taught, basically. I read like a fiend. So I did fine in my schoolwork and everything, got into a nice university and did well. But I did really well in university compared to high school, because university was, in my era, the liberal professors wouldn't mark you down for being conservative. They, and hindsight being 2020, I realized too, like, a lot of any teacher that didn't like me in high school typically just didn't get my humor or my way, because I was very polite, but I didn't put up with their crap. And if you're just going to recycle your old lesson plans from like 6 years ago, you're not likely going to have much to offer me.
Right.
Yeah. I had some excellent teachers. Did you have some excellent teachers, Felix?
Honestly, you know what? Maybe I
had like 3 or 4. I don't like 20 some or whatever I would have had.
Yeah, I think that's actually, I would say, a similar number. But there were people that I looked up to at the time. That, again, I told you, I had a Marist brother who I thought was so cool. He was teaching us the Mahabharata he's an English teacher. And he's teaching us the Mahabharata, and he's making us watch this stupid movie about the Mahabharata and do all this other stuff. And I'm like, all right, we're in a Catholic high school. And at the time, I didn't know any better. I'm like, okay, they're literally teaching me to rebel against my own God, my own religion, like in a Catholic school. It's disgusting.
Well,
know.
I hate to say it. Listen, if you have children and you have a choice of sending them to a secular, like a private secular school, or even a Baptist, like a Bible Christian school versus a modern Catholic one, in most cases, I'd send them to the Bible one.
The Bible
the reason
one.
being is that you send your kids, and you can at least tell your kids, hey, they're a different religion. Yes, they believe in Jesus, but they're not Catholic, and you can sort of teach them so that you're telling the kids, you listen to mom and dad and your priest about religion, and just be respectful to them, and everything works fine. Especially if they're just stick to scripture, it's fine, right? There's some differences, but you can fix that with the priest and the parents. But the problem is, if you send them to a Catholic school staffed by liberals, then what happens is they speak with more authority than the parents on the Catholic faith, and the kids get programmed against you. So that's the reasoning.
Yeah. So Father Haygood says, my aunt has been 2 years seizure-free after a lifetime of seizures because of cannabis. I've heard plenty of similar stories. So I don't doubt that 1 second.
Yeah.
And the same thing.
I've heard that too, and I get it. I mean, just like I say, I'm
product of your
old school there, Monsignor. Again, we're not that far apart in age, but we're far enough in age that, yeah, I'd probably take the seizure.
But here's a yeah, right. Yeah, how bad are seizures?
I'm just saying, like, it's just how I'm built. Like I'll never forget. Okay, so I was in Oregon after I left the Navy, and I had these friends in Oregon, and they were always pressuring me, like, because they all grew their own. They're allowed to grow so many of their own plants. They're proud of their plants and all this, and I would never even try, not even a puff. And I'll tell you, so you guys can steal my idea. If you don't like drugs and you want an excuse, just say my security clearance doesn't allow it. And it was true. It was true. And then I retired, but see, I kept contracts with the military after retirement, and so I can't touch any. So I used that for excuse for years. And then when I wrapped up that chapter of my life, then they were all at me to partake again. And I just said, listen, if I get to my age at the time, my late 40s, if I've made it this far without even trying it, I'm not trying it now, right?
Yeah, so. And it's you know what? Like, all right, even if you were to concede my point, right, and say that it is actually beneficial, and that does not mean everyone has to take it. Okay, so I don't tomato.
I don't think
you know
anything
what I mean?
less. Like, I would say probably 3/4 of my friends from my whole life have taken it, right? Felix?
Sure,
like, I don't.
Sure.
Have I ever made you feel that I think you're crap because you partook and you're
no, not even a little bit. No, absolutely no. What I'm saying is, like,
token, you're not always trying to get me to take it either.
Exactly. No. I think that's my point, Father. That's my point. It's like, you don't force feed this stuff to other people and try to because then you're getting into dark territory when you start doing that stuff. All right, because I don't think it should be propagandized as it has been and it is now. This is what the problem is, and why sometimes I have my doubts about it. It's like and again, this is nothing against what Father Haygood is saying, because I'm 100% on board with him. I also think, again, for people who have depression or any marijuana is far safer than any antipsychotic, antidepressant that a doctor can prescribe you. And I
want to say something here that you'll have some opinion for, maybe Monsignor does too, but I was a big Scott Adams fan. Now Scott was not a Christian. There's some hope that he converted in the end, but,
right? Yeah,
well, we don't know, right?
Right.
There's a lot of ifs. But anyway, putting that all aside, you don't know what's in anyone's soul in that moment, even that life leaves their body and before they get judged either, right? So we got to be careful judging anybody's predisposition. But I was a big fan of Scott because I valued a smart person who cared about other people, who was not afraid of holding a position and backing it up, who enjoyed a good banter, and he could agree to disagree with friends. And he said a lot of positive things about Christians. He wasn't a Christian himself, like I say. I mean, again, there's debate. We won't get into that rabbit hole about whether he converted or not. He did kind of, but it was kind of like this McReligion thing. Like, it's like,
it was tongue in cheek almost.
Yeah, we can't. It was kind of like a Pascal's wager kind of thing. But anyway, and that may or may not count. We don't know.
Right. Yeah.
We don't know.
Right.
I mean, that may count more that he was honest and just said, "Hey, this is the best I can do with what you've been given." See, that's why I say we're all judged by what we do with what we've been given. Maybe he wasn't given the gift of faith that many of you have, right? Or I have.
And he kind of asked for it at the end.
Weighing the soul of another. But one of the things that Scott did that I would just roll my eyes. So he had he had a coffee with Scott Adams. The podcast still exists with his ex-wife and a couple other people get on every day. And I don't really watch a little clip or something here and there. But God love him for trying to keep it going. Anyway, he used to have this show in the morning, and then if you were a member, he would have an evening sort of private 20, 30, 100 people on there. And so it was kind of interesting. And he would do silly things like he played drums. You know, he had one routine. But it was still funny. And, you know, and he would just talk. But anyway, doesn't he get into his recreational use of these substances?
Oh, he does. Okay.
But what I had no idea. I'm completely naive to this stuff. But apparently, and I can't even tell you what the names are. But there were two different varieties. He would use one variety when he needed to be sharp and focused, and other variety when he wanted to be mellow.
Sativa and indica.
According to him, if you took the wrong one for the wrong purpose, bad things happen. Like you could get really depressed.
Yeah. There's a sativa and there's indica. Those are the two main strands of marijuana.
I think that's what he was talking about. Yeah,
100%. That's what he was. Yeah, because one gives you more of a mellow high, another one gives you more of a concentration. And again, this is where I start. Even again, I'm like, okay, let's chill out here a little bit, you know, because this is then becoming. It starts getting dark. Okay, now we're not treating a mental condition or something like that. Now we're trying to alter our brain for, you know, and again, I would do, since I was an artist, musician, that's something that I would do to kind of inspire me to write music and stuff like that. And it's not really needed. I don't know.
Well, you are actually quite a talented musician. So Felix won't brag about himself, but I'll say he's a very, very talented fellow, and it's
bless you. Thank you. Yeah, but thank you. I don't think I'm bad, but it's not because of the weed. I'm not good or bad because of weed. You know what I mean? I'm a musician because I practice.
I'm relieved at that.
Imagine, that's the only way. That's the only way.
Do you know when you said imagine and weed, I thought of John Lennon for a moment, and I'm thinking Cardinal Tagley. If you guys Google it, he sings Imagine. The Cardinal Tagley sings Imagine. Imagine there's no religion, no heaven. Yeah. No, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like,
imagine.
That's like me being the chief financial officer for Ford Motor Company and say, imagine we only had horses. Wouldn't that be cool?
I wonder if that's what the devil told him when they made the deal 20 years before his death. That apparently, have you heard that? I think you probably heard it from me.
No, I haven't.
The going rumor, or rumor, and I say that sincerely, rumor was that John Lennon sold his soul for fame for 20 years, and then 20 years to the date, he gets shot outside of the hotel it went up. And
I mean, it is very possible. You know, I've actually met two now musicians.
I was going to say you met two Beatles. I'm like,
not Beatles. No one that famous. But two musicians who said they sold their soul to the devil and they wanted to get it back, and they said the devil said that they can never get it back, and but no, that's not true. But it is interesting because people actually do that.
Yeah, and it's not just with weed. Obviously, they self-medicate other ways, but all right, let me see.
Look at Ellen DeGeneres, and imagine going to one of her barbecues.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
we're not going to go there today. All right,
because you know what I was going to say.
Not going to go there today.
Yeah,
right.
There's only
that for us.
How do you like your meat? I'll just leave it at that. I can't. Father Hagen says I can't. Jose Father Higgins says, I can't drink vodka. It turns me into a rage machine.
Oh dear. So there's a song by Great Big Sea. It's a Newfoundlander band about the old black rum. They didn't compose it. They sort of redid it. But I guess for the good Archbishop, would have to do one about that that blue vodka or something.
Right. Let me see.
No, that said, now that we know that, Monsignor, we know how to, to fuel you up and set you in the direction of someone obnoxious if we need to.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like before battle, okay, vodka time. Right. Let's go. Father Hagen says alcohol has been proven to thin blood.
Alcohol is a very interesting, there's a cultural thing. So different cultures, like the Irish and the Italians and the French, all have different relationships with alcohol, right? And so it's interesting culturally what the relationships are, but also how you handle people that overindulge, for example, in different countries, different cultures, how they handle it. And medicinally, in Ireland they used to give Guinness for vitamin purposes, even to pregnant women, apparently. So it's kind of weird, but Guinness actually has a fairly low alcohol content. But different alcohol seems to affect people differently, and like I say, there's different cultural relationships. So I have a friend who's a Mexican. I have more than one friend who's Mexican, but I like to tease them sometimes because I said, you gotta give it to the Mexicans. I said they invented two amazing things. I said one is the warp drive, the Echeverria drive, right? I said one is a prototype warp drive, which hopefully will work one day. And I said, and the second thing is they figured out a way to make alcohol out of cactus. I mean, that's
that's dedication, right? But this gets really
Cristeros
dark.
Is the real gift of the Mexican people to the church and to the world is the Cristeros.
And I don't know if this was in the Book of Enoch, right? But I have heard that alcohol was introduced to us from the fallen and from the Genesis 6. Just like and again, the Book of Enoch talks about like how
sort of like when Baptists are dancing.
Right, exactly.
And no real Baptists were hurt in that joke.
No, and none of them will act hurt either. Usually they're pretty good with the sense of humor.
They are.
But I just can't what was it? What did I just say, Father?
You were talking about the very popular lately musing into the Book of Enoch, and that alcohol was from from the fallen.
Oh yeah. Well, and also I was going to say alcohol is referred to as spirits. I've heard
someone just brought this up today. Did we watch the same video? Because I'll play stuff in the background while I'm doing other things, and someone was going on about spirits being. Who was that? What video was that? Someone was actually. I never heard it before, but they said that the reason it was called spirits, it was referring to evil spirits.
Evil spirits, and I've heard this before, so this isn't from anything I've heard today, but I remember, because it's called spirits because you do tap into that, and I'll even talk from from personal experience when I did overindulge on alcohol. I mean, think about it. Sometimes people black out, and that's very bad. And even taking out the possibility, if
you order DoorDash from crazy women that want to broadcast you on the internet.
Yeah, well, the thing is one of the big things from demonic
that
possession.
News story. We won't go down that rabbit hole, but do you know what I'm talking about?
No. Give me the rundown. At least the elevator.
Okay, the elevator pitch is there was this young woman who's just mad at the world, right? She's looking for something to be growling at, so she has this TikTok channel or something. And she's a DoorDasher. So the instruction says, leave the food at the door. And it's already prepaid, right? So she leaves the food at the door, or she's going to. And she sees through the door, the guy has his door a little bit of ajar, and there's a screen door. And the Ring camera caught a very different story. So if you have a Ring camera, this can come in handy, folks. So the DoorDasher, what she did is she opened the door. Now, this is not what she said, but that's what the Ring camera had. She goes in, she films this guy, and he was not clothed, right? So she films him in his own home, posts it on TikTok without censoring anything, and says this guy tried to SA her because he ordered food deliberately and then presented himself in this manner. Well, of course, turns out the guy was inebriated. He ordered his food, said leave it outside, and passed out while he was getting ready for a shower or something. And he passed out and he wasn't clothed. So anyway, he wakes up to the police like, what are you doing in my house? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. This lady said that you violated her or whatever. And it turns out when they looked at the Ring camera, she went into the house to film him. And anyway, it was all over the internet because she kept going. She was mad at the DoorDash people because they fired her.
Yeah.
And she said, well, you're not defending me against being attacked. But it was like, you broke and enter, and you not only that, you broadcast this poor man like very rudely, right? There's all these laws against you sharing sensitive video, right? So of course, new laws designed to protect people from pinhole cameras and stuff like that. Well, guess what? She might get 8 years in prison for that little stunt.
Yeah, you know what? And it's certain
they'll not remorseful at all. She thinks she's the victim.
Yeah,
they'll make her register. Into somebody's house and videoed him.
Yeah, she might have to register a sex offender for that.
I'm sure
like in the wrong, in the depending on.
But it was pretty funny because what was funny, it's sad but funny, right? It's not funny, haha. It's funny, strange.
Right? Funny to not cry.
The rage, like I watched the clips of this woman complaining, right? The rage, the seething rage of this young woman, just this little tiny young woman. It's like, holy crap, miss! I'm so glad you're not in my church or on my sidewalk. She's scary.
Yeah, no, for sure. Leroy says the position holders refer to themselves as interregnumist.
Interregnumist, yep.
Interregnumist.
So that's referring to those who believe that there was funny business around Benedict the 16th's. Benedict XVI's resignation. There's a lot of data points, folks. So, like, in favor of this theory that the SWIFT banking machine shut down, the visit by Joe Biden, the content of his letter, also the peculiar way that Francis got elected. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So, I mean, it's just like, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not infallible, but I do lean towards the interregnumist position. I think that whatever the heck Francis was pretty bad. So he was either not legitimate or he's the worst pope ever. And if he was, here's where a lot of these guys don't get. If you insist to me that Francis was true pope, then I'm going to say to you, well, and guess what? That line where the fires of hell will not prevail cannot apply to the institution then. And I can easily prove it. Here it is. They can't even follow their 1990s catechism. So if the 1990s catechism is considered too conservative, too traditional, and believe you me, it's nothing like the 1960s, right, or before. So if you're changing at that speed, then that indicates that you're following like basically the God of Teilhard, not the God of Athanasius. And so, it's really, Francis is a real problem. I say that as somebody who used to evangelize to the institutional, like I was a gung-ho. I was like a Jimmy Akin, not as talented as Jimmy Akin, but I was like Jimmy Akin, Carl Keating, Frank Sheed, Maisie Ward. I used to do street evangelization. I used to do apologetics in the Dragon's Den with Baptists and non-denominationals. It was very gung-ho. And that was my whole era of me in my 20s. And my goodness, I hate to say it, I would be so ashamed to see any of these people back in time now. If they saw the Pachamama and they saw all the things that the church became since I was in my 20s 30 years ago, I'm sorry, it's a different religion. And yeah. I don't know how to whitewash that. The only thing I can say to people is read old books and just go where you believe God's calling you, because I can't have any part of these crazy things. So 100%. Read KOS is
KOS says thanks. I've heard you say that before.
Probably a Knight of St. John, actually. That's
Knight of St. John. I was thinking Knight of St. James. That's
okay.
But it's Knight of St. John. All right. I don't know. But anyway, I've heard you say that before about Paul VI. It was the first time for me, but intriguing.
I don't know. It's my theory, but here's the thing. Like, Paul VI was a very interesting character. Like, Like a movie
Okay.
should be done on Paul VI. He's a very interesting character. But he was like, I don't know if you'd say friends, but pretty close. If not, he was friends with Saul Alinsky, who dedicated his primary work to Lucifer. And that doesn't mean that he believed what Saul believed, but there was this whole connection with the Chicago Catholic crowd, like the Bernardine. And when you think about it, all these guys like Dave Laxidrod, where do they all come from? Right? They're all still visiting. And that Chicago Catholic is a very interesting beastie. They use the trappings of social justice to dismantle the faith. And Paul was friendly with him, and then Paul had some, let's just say, some less than flattering relationships with certain individuals. And so I'm very surprised they had the audacity to name him a canonized saint, because all this stuff is well known. If you're clergy of a certain age, you know all about Paul VI, and he's the last person you'd ever name as a saint. So sometimes I joke and I say, well, if Paul VI is the saint, then we all are, so we have nothing to worry about. So maybe Bishop Barron's right. Dare we hope?
Dare we hope? But you know what? Even listen to the devil's advocate, dare we hope isn't the most conclusive statement.
It's not a heresy. It's not.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a little cringe.
No,
I get it.
I'm teasing him.
Yeah.
This is okay. So you guys have to understand. First of all, I tease people I love. I also tease people I don't love. But I don't necessarily. When I tease people, I don't necessarily dislike them. Like you can tell. You can tell. Like when you can tell if someone's trying to be hurtful, and someone's just trying to sort of use humor as to lighten up a heavy
something.
matter.
Yeah, no. Well,
right?
Father.
So sometimes I use humor to entertain, but sometimes I use humor, and some would say inappropriately, and that's fine. That's a cultural thing, really. I use humor to lighten a very serious or heavy topic, and not everybody likes that. And I that's been a criticism of mine through my whole life, folks. But that is my culture. That's what I grew up with, and when I've encountered people from other parts of North America. They don't appreciate that at all. I think that's horrible. So
we have that in common, Father, because there are times I will crack a joke at the worst possible time. But with the same intent, it's not to. I'm like, obviously, I'm trying to make you laugh, and I'm not trying to insult you or hurt your feelings. I said, sometimes, but it's.
I have a simple rule, Felix. If people dish it, they just got to be able to take it.
Amen. Yeah.
So right. Remember, I was one of those mouthy little kids in high school. The only reason why I didn't get beaten up is no one wanted to be insulted by me, basically. So I made friends with a couple big kids, and I was entertaining with being able to. We used to call them grease outs, and that was it was just a barrage of insults that were clever, that would poke at things, and then all the other kids would laugh. And so if you're good at it, you had sort of. I was never bothered in school. After grade 11, I had a rough junior high, but after I got smart at that, jeepers, no one. I'd even have these guys like twice my size. Please don't say anything about me. Please don't say anything about me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. For us, funny. It was in high school in Jersey, I guess, whatever. It was the dozens, they would call it. Yeah, and it was usually just dissing each other's moms. So that's pretty much what it was.
Well,
Your mom was so fat.
There's different rules of the game, and then the other thing is that. Like, I don't do it to somebody that I don't think likes that humor.
They can't handle it, right? Yeah.
And also, it's a fine line, too, when you're like, especially like people are like, can I say that to a priest? Can I say that to a bishop? Right?
No.
So that's
yeah. No,
it depends on rapport and familiarity. And
as
Knight of St. John.
King of St. John says, do you personally include the Pope or Bishop in the Eucharistic prayer? I think you do, don't you, Father?
I am so glad you bring that up. So, this is important for those of you who don't understand the importance of this question.
Excuse me for 1 second while you answer, Father. I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's fine. Different groups outside of regularity, like not in full communion with Leo, handle this problem differently. Okay, so that's one of the things that you might want to pray about, and then ask various groups if it's important to you, right? Some people are like, any lifeboat in a storm, I'm not going to worry about it. For some, it's a really big deal. And so I really like the question. Because you should know, right? Regardless of your opinion on it, you should know. So what I do is I pray for the Pope and I nod my head as is custom, but I don't utter the name. And the reason is I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. And that's my honest opinion, and so and because Leo could be, there's lots of evidence that he is. He certainly holds the keys to the actual buildings and stuff, so that's a big plus in his favor. But I honestly don't believe he shares the same faith, and perhaps not even the same deity as I do, and that's a pretty serious charge. And I don't know the man, so I could be wrong. I can only go by what I see, right, and what the media reports to me. But I can tell you I'm not impressed, and he wouldn't be impressed with me. Now, if we were parishes next door, will we be friends or not? I don't know. We could be, because like I say, I have a lot of liberal priest friends, but is the issue that he's liberal? No, I think he has a very different mission than I do. So I think that's kind of an operating system level versus program level, if that makes sense. So I nod and I say I pray for the Pope, and whether that's St. Peter in heaven or whether it's Leo or whether it's one who's to come, I can't tell you. I don't know. Bishop is me. So our group claims ordinary jurisdiction over our flock. So I'm the Archbishop primate of our little group, and I go just by bishop or father, or I'm not big on titles or stuff. It's I just want to do what God wants me to do, and I keep joking to my clergy, let's find someone holier and smarter, because it shouldn't be a hard bar. And I can retire early, and I can just write Substacks and do videos for you guys. But joking aside, I just want to do what God wants, and he's brought me to this little group through actually a priest who used to work for Ecclesia Dei in Rome, and used to also be my mentor in seminary 30 years ago. And that's quite a story, and maybe it's something I should put on video for another time. But yeah, we're just all trying to make our way on this uncharted ground. And I did meet once with a senior Novus Ordo bishop who worked in Rome. And because our community has existed for over a century in its specific form, in the grander family form since like the year 700 or something. But in terms of the current organizational lineage, for about 100 years. And we're mentioned in canon law commentaries and that kind of thing. So I think we have a good understanding with the mainstream church or with the synodal church. And basically my thing is I don't directly evangelize any of their people. If they're happy with where they are and they believe that that's of God, then who am I to tell them different? But for those who, I think the people that are attracted to us are the ones who are anthropologically or politically conservative and just can't go where the mainstream wants you to go. So, and I would say in our, as a feature, is because we have a Catholic ecclesiology, that the priests are all under obedience to the bishop, that, and we have two other bishops, but they're semi-retired, so I'm sort of the guy on the ground. Yeah, there's one authority to refer to, and I listen to all my priests. And in fact, whenever I have a decision, even to accept a seminarian or a transferred in priest, there's basically a process by which the other senior clergy have got a very serious say. So although I could override them, I never would, simply because if we are regularized under a future Catholic Pope, and he said, "Hey, Mikkel, thanks for your service, but I want you to retire," I'll be, "Yes, Holy Father." And I don't want the current clergy to have to, inherit a decision that I just made on my own. They have to, and I asked the same of my predecessor, Archbishop Humphreys. He, every once in a while, he'd want to do something a little crazy, or what I thought was crazy, and I'd just say, Your Grace, please, whatever decision you make, I'm the guy that's going to have to deal with the next 30 years of it. So I'd like some say. And he always listened to me, and I appreciated that, even though, again, he was the boss. He could do what he wanted.
Well, back, Father. Sorry.
Well, I just finished, so I hope that was a
that was perfect
answer.
timing.
If not, just give me a follow-up question. But yeah, there you go.
Peddling Miss Gracie says Gracie sends her love, Father. Yes,
thank you, and Mr. Marceau too. Thank you, Jim. Hope you're doing well.
Leroy says denigrators call them Benny Plenists.
Yeah, there's all kinds of these weird names,
terms.
Leroy. Yeah, I hear I guess what's settled by the group themselves. There's like I'm not part of the. Well, I don't know. Is there a formal club?
Yeah,
But
right.
I tend towards that position myself. But again, I just want to do what God wants. I think most of us that are sort of aware of what's going on in the church in this era, like we sort of see what it's kind of like Athanasius versus Arius, like even Bishop Snyder said that too. And so I don't think there's many of us that claim to have all the answers. There's a few independent groups. If you're not part of our church, then you're not a real Catholic and stuff. But those guys, you can tell that they're not firing all thrusters because they're presuming authority they don't have. No one gave them their authority. So occasionally someone accuses me of that, but that's not true. I was given all my authority by a group. Again, it had canonical irregularity for a century, or more than a century, really. But yeah, we have a Catholic ecclesiology that the canonical process was never resolved. And by church law, that means that we enjoy its carrying on. So that's what we're here. So that would be our argument for existence, is that we're basically canonically misbehaved, and that any kind of friction we ever had with the pre-1960 church was over politics, not theology. And that's easily, like I say, fact check that. If anyone has any questions. Sometimes we come across bad people on the Twitters in particular, and they try to misrepresent us, or they pretend they know more than they do, and they don't. But you can always tell a person of goodwill. They'll DM me first before they make some sort of public poo slinging, and I really appreciate those people. I try to give them a little time.
But it's just
Okay.
like, it's
So
anyone who. I was going to ask you, Father. So it's like, do you think anyone who's arguing for Pachamama, do you think any of them are arguing from a place of goodwill?
No, not really. I mean, there's flakes,
Same.
right? Like there's people at the village idiot. You love them because they're the village idiot and they're just sweet. And
leave me alone, Father. No, I'm just kidding.
You're not going to trust them with anything, right? So
True.
There are people like that are just flaky, but they're the kind of people that have crystals in the room and are praying to some, made up. They're praying to Saint Gandhi with their Gandhi icon in the room and stuff like this, right? So those kind of people. Again, I don't hate these people. I don't take them very seriously.
Right. Leroy says Cardinal Burke also said that those that want the old mass shouldn't doubt Vatican II.
Yeah, I disagree with Cardinal Burke. See, here's the thing. Like I say, the only Novus Ordo, there's good Novus Ordo bishops, okay? Like I like the local bishop here. I haven't met him personally, but we've had communication with one another. I've had contact with the late Bishop Gracida. I went to visit. I spent a whole day with him, like 9 hours. I loved him, but we disagreed on things, right? So the thing is that I don't have 4 of my classmates are Novus Ordo bishops. 2 others are vicar generals. Some of them I have regular contact with, others I don't. And so I don't have a hate on for people that are just trying to make their way to God, right, and bring others there. Most of my attitude has always been agree to disagree. So my attitude with people that are what I find, and you guys tell me if I'm off here, it's been my experience that when people hate someone like me, they're very insecure. They're very insecure because they're that unsure of their own position that they have to try to take me down versus just debate on the merits. So, I mean, you can say a lot of things about me, but you can't say, for one, I'm uneducated, because I've got 8 years of seminary, including the undergraduate stuff. And plus that, all these years of study, this has been my passion. And that's like 30 years ago. So are there smarter people than me? Yes. But you're not going to find, are there people that are, even more well-read, whatever? Sure. But I'm just saying, you're talking about a very small number, right? So not some random guy that says like holy dude in mom's basement, number 42, is, oh, you're a fake bishop. Like, give me a break. You don't even know what would make a real bishop. So, why don't you go change the roll in the toilet paper and leave the rest of us adults alone? So there's certain people that I don't have a lot of respect for because of the way they disagree. But now Cardinal Burke, I strongly disagree with. So Bishop Snyder, I 100% agree with. I think, if not, it's like 99.9% agree with. But Cardinal Burke, I disagree with on so much. Like, where do I begin? Like, I'd almost rather a liberal priest that we agree to disagree and he's a little flaky, but he loves God, than someone like Cardinal Burke, who we both say we're traditional, but we both believe in very different things. So it's like, again, if Cardinal Burke was in the church as a priest and I was a priest next door, will we be friends? I don't think so. Would I be with Bishop Snyder? Sure. Would I be with most of the bishops in Florida? Probably. In the sense of cordial. But the thing is, Cardinal Burke puts too much emphasis on the power of the institution, in my opinion, and he's welcome to him. Someone like me is just schismatic. I'm outside of the church. That's not our position at all. We don't see that at all. We don't accept that judgment at all. And there's certain things that he did officially. Like, again, as a person, I'm sure he's a very holy man. He's a very good man, very loving man to other Christians. I'm not trying to crap on him individually. I know he's a very smart man with great legal mind. There's lots of great things to say about him. But at the end of the day, like, this whole business, and you guys can Google it or check it on Grok, his treatment of a canonical trans, I could never trust him theologically or legally. All right. So to me, that's just crossing a line. And plus, when you condemn Pius X, when you have fiducia supplicans, instead of being with your brothers who want to restore, and you instead try to think it's the institution that can do it, when the institution defiles vocations and harms and messes people up psychologically and spiritually, and they do it deliberately, it's not a case where we fall in sin and where we have imperfections. We always have that. This is an organization that intentionally wants to destroy Christianity. It takes money to resettle Muslims and doesn't even preach a word of the gospel to them. And he's in communion with it. He's part of it. He's in communion with the State Church of China. He's in communion with the Abrahamic Family House. So we have disagreements. And I'm saying it's okay. Some of you are in that situation and you're fighting from the inside, and God bless you. I'm not against you. What I'm saying is, then don't lecture someone like me, because you have no place to lecture from. In fact, your position is far shakier than mine ever will be, because our Lord said to judge by the fruits. And unfortunately, there's so many fruits in the Novus Ordo, and you guys don't judge by them. So what do I say? Anyway, Sanctus. Right.
So Sanctus Service says, just wanted to stop by and say aloha before I head back to the beach and enjoy the water. Rub it in. Just wanted to ask one question.
Hawaii just the other day. That's good. Okay, go on.
All right. He said, I just want to ask one question and I'll watch it in post. I'll actually, hold on. Let me get to that question. Right. He says, I think I remember you saying you like Bishop Athanasius Schneider. What are your thoughts on his book, Credo, Compendium to the Catholic Faith? And is this something I should pick up and read?
So actually, I have it, but I've never given it a strong study. So I don't want to, I hate not being able to give you a clear answer on this. I trust the intent and the holiness of Bishop Snyder. So I know that some of my Sede friends really don't like that book. Okay. Really? I have never read a full critique of why they don't like it. And that's not for lack of, water through a fire hose in my world, right? So there's so many things I want to get to, and I'm starting actually to feel like I'm getting traction ahead. It's very exciting because I always feel I'm so far behind where I want to be, but that is something I should take a look at. I should read the critiques, should read it myself, should pray about it, and then sort of come up with something. I think part of the reason why I haven't made that a front button issue, like everything I read in Credo was fine, but I know there's critiques from certain traditional elements. But the thing is that in my view, Bishop Snyder is the bridge between all of the trads, because now some of my Sadie friends would disagree, but I really think he is, because first of all, I believe he's a personally holy man who loves the church, who wants to, He acknowledges Francis. He acknowledged Leo. He's very suspicious of sedevacantism, so that's kind of the reason why the Sedes don't like him, and vice versa. But I really think, guys, this isn't our battle right now. I want everybody to calm down, agree to disagree. Let's focus on the 20 doctrinal councils. And maybe one day I'll write him and ask him if he'd consider doing something like this. It's just like, who am I, right? But I would like to see a 10-year study of all the traditional bishops in the world, Sede, non-Sede, all the independents, all the old Romans, everybody. Basically, you don't have any restriction as long as there's a line that we can trace to somebody that has valid orders, right? And that basically we have a forum for like 10 years. And the idea would be you'd have 1 week a year that you would gather in person someplace like Dallas or Nebraska or Michigan or something, and someplace central. And then the idea would be is that you'd build some networks and some rapport with these various groups. You would hear from one another what we really believe versus what the Twitterverse says about you, right? And then the idea would be this. We take the old schemas of Vatican II and also all the weird innovations from the era of Francis, and also like a CC 86 and all the other stuff that's crazy, communion in the hand, all the other stuff that's crazy, female acolytes, crazy, all right? You take all those crazy and we deal with it in a systemic way, similar to how a council would be, but we deliberately make it 10 years. And the reason being is we open source the documents. The bishops will be the one to vote on it, what is going to be the working document, but deliberately we will call it like version 1, version 1.2, version, this kind of thing. And you crowdsource all you good people that are watching this and are on Catholic Twitter and are fans of whatever group, including the Novus Ordo. We have a robust academic argument, mostly by forum, right? And then the bishops will convene once a year, pray about it. We've got all our arguments steel-manned. We verified this. We disproved this, blah, blah, blah. And over the course of 10 years, all those foundational documents, probably like 20 of them, would all be steel-manned. And at the end of the 10 years, we ask someone like Bishop Snyder, please take this to the Holy Father. You're going to be our spokesman. And you tell him we either want his assent to, the idea would be to produce a doctrinal series of documents that are legitimate evolution, or in a good way, not evolution is a bad way, a legitimate development or a legitimate articulation of the old faith for the 21st century, and basically see what he responds. Like, because the thing is, we can't have Tellard, we can't have syncretism, we can't have synodality. Now these new guys are all in on it, right? So they're going to reject it, but that's not the point, because the process will be public, and because would be an in-person geographical component. Every bishop who holds to the 20 doctrinal councils will, you have a forum where they're all together. And you can actually decide whether you like so-and-so. And I can tell you right now, I bet you there's a lot of people that would get along that didn't get along just from the electronic world, when we realize that, who we all are, especially if we all share the same mission to restore the church. And of course, you open it with a mass of the Holy Ghost, and we just pray our way through these documents and address it, and then bring it to the Holy Father. And then if he completely rejects it and says, no, we're syncretists now, we're deists now, we're going to welcome the space aliens, we've got a new religion, because Lord only knows what's going to happen in 10 years, then we can make that schism formal. And some people say, oh, that's horrible, schisms work. No, listen. Unity and error will send you to hell.
Yeah.
So there's worse problems than schism. Like, we've had a de facto schism for 60 years. So it's time someone or a group of someone's addresses us in a formal way, so the wound can be healed. We can pray on it before heaven and earth. It's very clear what the sides are. And right now, we don't have that. All the trads are running around with different things. Everybody's working on their own group, benefactions for their own group, writing for their own group. There's no united voice. There's no united process. If someone asked me who would you want to be the moderator and spokesperson for all the trad bishops, it'd be Athanasius Schneider. And my Sadie friends would be mad at me. Whoa. No, listen. Seriously. He's a holy man. You may not agree with everything that he does. And he is the one that the majority of us would let speak for us. At least to present our case. If we came up with that kind of document, it'd be interesting to see how hardcore some of the divisions were, who would quit, who would walk away mad, take away their toys, But if you start from the premise of the 20 doctrinal councils, excluding all innovation contrary, that should be a big enough tent. We should be able to produce some really good stuff, I think. So then, Mary.
So Marion says, you are 100% right, Archbishop Meikle. Told you about the TLM priest who said you are committing a grievous mortal sin worthy of the harshest condemnation on Judgment Day by dividing Holy Mother, Catholic. And then she followed up with, he was saying you cannot divide the church into the synodal church and the traditional church. They are one unified church.
Yeah. I think that's someone from the Institute. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like,
you know what's funny about these guys? They're all nice to your face. But anyway, that's fine.
Yeah, but don't you tell me? Sorry,
I did not divide the church. I didn't put a Pachamama over the martyred remains of Saints Peter and Paul. I did not put a Buddha on the altar of Assisi in '86. I did not put communion in the hand. Well, I did as Eucharist Novus Ordo. But what I'm saying is, I didn't, bring that.
Don't do that now.
I didn't bring that to the church, right? Like I repented.
Right.
But what I'm getting at is that how is your failure, your institutional failure, not you, Mary, but you said to this critic of mine, how is your institutional failure somehow my fault? If you had just been faithful to your own baptism and your own catechism, which you can't even follow your 1990s one, and by the way, you can convey my message or play this part of the tape if you like. If you can't even follow your own catechism, and I suspect you don't even follow your own bishop, I bet you anything that you say one thing to him and other thing to other people, because we all know that you don't want to follow the new way. So you bite your tongue and you do it, but you probably have more than a few words against the new way. So it's like a begrudging obedience to the institution, right? At what expense? Your own soul. Your own soul. And not only that, the people. The thing is, if it's the person I think it is, his predecessor was the holiest priest I know. And he cared about souls, not his own comforts and not his own little power plays.
And this guy's a TLM?
Yeah. This is the thing. People don't get it. It's not about the TLM. This is my beef with Cardinal Burke. It's not about the TLM, folks. It's about the faith. The TLM is the best way to the faith, yes, but people are putting cart before horse. They worry about whether they have a TLM, but what does that profit you if you're in communion with Pachamama? Right?
Right.
If your leadership worships false gods and you're invoking communion with them, like, that's a serious thing. I'm not condemning anybody. Like, I'm going to be misquoted here. I'm not listen, if you're fighting from the inside, I get it. I'm with you on that. I'm just saying, try to have some compassion, some empathy, and in the spirit of Acts 5, when you talk about people like me or the Society of Pius X or other groups, understand that we are doing what we are doing because we feel if we followed you, my critic, we would be sinning. We believe that if we were to follow what you teach, we would be offending God, the Holy Trinity, the true God. Your God, Mr. Critic, is the God of Islam. My God isn't. Do you deny that? Oh, you know what? Why don't you write me and tell me you deny it? Why don't you be a man and bring your critiques to me? Because about 60 of your parishioners have brought them to me. So why not you? Because as I recall meeting you in person, you were very nice. Well, we all know what kind of, our Lord taught, let your yes be yes and your no be no. And everything else comes from who again? Oh, learned
evil one.
The evil one. Exactly. So all I can say is I'll keep scripture and tradition, and you, with my Maltese blessing, can have the Pachamama.
You keep your Pachamama.
That's right.
Right.
These
I don't
fools.
even know who you're talking
I don't
about.
mind
So I'm
people
just
with honest disagreement. I'm so tired of effeminate men. I really have a problem with effeminate men. They don't conflict with you directly. They use proxies and they hurt people. They hurt people they know you care about. And that's all right. God sees it all. And you know what, folks, when our Lord says, be kind to your enemies, it's like heaping burning coals. There's a wisdom to it. When God, if you are righteous, God gets them, as my grandmother would say, he gets them far better than you ever will. They people like that, they attract, the Easterns would call it karma. I don't mean it in a theological sense, but basically we generally get what we deserve when we're bad.
Reaping what you sow.
Yeah, you reap what you sow. And I've been blessed with meeting so many holy people and people that are escaping the likes of him for good reason.
I hear that. Okay, so let me see. Get rid of this. Okay, now we have Sancta Services Dominus Vobiscum.
Et cum spiritu tuo.
Let me see. And Norm says, Eileen and I have had a long day, productive though it was, but we need to say goodnight. We so appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
Good night, Norm. And if you're watching any of the end afterwards, remember that we're on Unspoken Issues. We're going to talk about, probably we're going to talk about the consecration of Bishop Samuel. So, but we'll see. I don't know what the topics are, but I think I keep after these guys. Will you guys send me the topic ahead of time so I can advertise it and put the link on my site and everything? And we always just we're on air and then whatever comes out comes out.
Right. That's how it goes. It's like mass, right? With the sermon.
we should get my critic, because he'd be critical. We should have him on. You're being a guest. Tell us how bad we are to our audience. We want it. As long as, hey, if you can dish it, as long as you can take it back.
Yeah, right.
We'll be nice. Kind of.
Yeah, right. Cynthia says, have you ever been to the airport in Atlanta? Go to the smoking room. It's like being in a giant ashtray. Okay.
Oh, I've been to the airport in Atlanta, but I didn't know they had a smoking room. You know what? That's funny. Yeah, because I was in Atlanta airport when I went to go visit my father in February, and the same thing, I think they did I had to go outside in the freezing cold to smoke at the time. And let me tell you something. Oh, Cynthia, you just wound me up again. I remember traveling there and I could not have a cigarette in the airport. Like, there was only one or two airports that allowed this. And, I finally get the argument that you're being treated as a secondhand citizen or a second-class citizen when these rules are put into place. Oh, I don't want to smell your smoke. I want to smoke. We now have two opposing viewpoints. And what now, because you don't want to smell it, I don't get to smoke. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. That doesn't work that way. I want to smoke. You can walk away. You know what I mean? There can be a special place. You can have a smoker's plane. You can have a non-smoker's plane. But it's almost those rules are not allowed to exist. All right. I'm not advocating that smoking is healthy or good for you or anything like that, obviously, but the taking away of this rule, I think it's a violation. I think it's almost a humiliation ritual to a smoker who has to travel 12 hours without a cigarette under the stress of airline travel. It's borderline cruel. Seriously. Maybe it was the same in your era. One of the things that surprised me in basic training in the military is they wouldn't let any of the smokers quit. Did they have that rule with you too, folks? No, they forced us to quit. And then, people were taking the Nicaragua. The second I got out of boot camp, smoked. Our guys were not allowed to quit. They were actually even given smoke breaks. So the non-smokers like me were sort of envious. No, the reason why is they thought that the stress on top of everything else would just be too much. So they were encouraged to quit after basic training. Yeah. And again, it's better that you don't smoke. Fair enough. Yep. But if you decide to smoke, being treated
yeah, I understand that there's an ashtray room, that the room is like being in a giant ashtray, but I'd rather that than to be like, no, you can't smoke, you know, whatever. It's like when it's been a practice since like the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even up until the 2000s, that when by the time they finally outlawed smoking from airplanes, they still at the very least had the smoking lounge in the airport. Thank you so much for letting me vent on that, Cynthia. I'm following me. I'm so sorry, but that really that kind of floors me. I don't understand, like, you know, and people just kind of take it. The smokers just take it.
You know what strikes me, Felix? No one really ever, well, not in a serious way, try to find a common ground, like high-powered ventilator or, you know, something, just
whatever.
Again, like, used to be these little smokeless in the 70s or early 80s. There was these smokeless, like they were a little vacuum that sucked the smoke in from your cigarette.
Yeah,
I mean, it was imperfect because you're smoking all.
There's always anyway, but some would go out, and again, it's like, it's what it is. You know, it's like God forbid that you're inconvenienced by smelling secondhand smoke. And I'm not one of these that believes that secondhand smoke like kills the people around it. Like, get out of here with that nonsense. I'm just.
And then you have the whole level of argument about if you use natural tobacco versus the processed stuff with the chemicals and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but that's another rabbit hole.
That is another rabbit hole.
We get RFK on for guests. We can talk about that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Let me see. I was gonna do my RFK impression, but it's not perfect yet. I'll wait till I get it. I'll get it right.
More. All right.
Cynthia says, "Have you?" Oh yeah, I just read that. Leroy says, "It's not just sending them to public schools. It does no good to homeschool children if you allow them to soak in the popular toxic culture."
That is a very good point, Leroy. Yeah,
Amen.
There's no point in doing like a homeschool, but letting them basically be educated on Netflix or whatever. You're right.
Yeah, when they watch children's programming on Netflix and just getting indoctrinated.
As a rule of thumb, what has worked for a lot is, you know, basically anything before. I mean, there's always been funny business, but it seems to be around 2013, 2015. You can't trust anything.
Just about
for children, and some stuff was still bad before then, but certainly, you know, the older you go, like, I don't think anyone has been contorted by Thomas the Train or Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, you know?
Right. Let me see.
Although the lefties hate Thomas because his goal was to be a very useful engine, which apparently that's just capitalist propaganda to the lefties.
Yeah, when we all should just be united against the creepiness of a human face on a train being forced. And then I remember there was one episode where they're literally dismantling this train because he wouldn't run good, and like dismantling him and he's still alive. It's actually kind of creepy, but well. Let me see. Leroy then says, I noticed on the WDW Pro show that Disney is going to double down on Woke 2.0. They're going to reimagine the carousel of progress for modern audiences. I'm going to give you a quick little something. I was actually on a panel with them once on co-stream. I co-streamed with them with WDW Pro. Very briefly. And I guarantee you won't remember me.
What is that?
WDW Pro is a channel, YouTube channel. And he basically shout out to WDW Pro, by the way. He gives good content. He kind of goes over the financial numbers of like Disney and stuff like that, and kind of breaks down like stocks and also the financial future failing, like when they fail. And it really goes into he goes kind of deep into Disney and like really stupid financial decisions. And if they're going to double down on Woke 2.0, which I 100% believe, they're going to reimagine the carousel of progress for modern audiences. So that probably means they're going to probably have something on the Stonewall riots and stuff. And, you know, who knows? Let me see. And now this guy just came out of nowhere with this gem of a comment. Diapason, all substances in balance. A little bit of coffee, a little bit of weed, a little bit of bourbon, a little bit of mead.
So we call that Diapason. We call that the Felix School of Thought.
That's right. In moderation. No,
I'm a prisoner of my era, gentlemen.
At the in a perfect world,
there has
Father.
been some church writing, but even Novus Ordo, like, discourages it. But I don't, tell you the truth, this isn't my
I should tell
subject
you,
matter
yeah.
expertise. Like I mean, it's kind of funny because when you're clergy, you're kind of expected to know every little thing that people run across. But this is not my. I know it's not encouraged, and basically beyond caffeine and alcohol, it's never really been. There's not a lot of other recreational substance the church has ever sort of got behind.
Yeah, no, I can definitely understand that.
But there's a whole bunch of there's a whole body of writing and stuff on it that that's not my area of expertise, but it's out there. So if you guys want to read pro and con, it's out there.
Yeah, well, it's like, I'll tell you what gets me is I remember one time a priest, I don't know if it was a priest, a Catholic said that smoking cigarettes is a violation of the do not kill commandment, thou shalt not kill, because you're hurting your own body. And my eyes almost physically just rolled back.
I mean, it's not like it's not without argument, but the problem is then what's soda? What's
overeating? You overate. You had a little extra on there, so now you have cholesterol. I mean, come on, man. I think one of the arguments, like if I say Felix and I were going to do we were going to both pretend to be Andrew Wilson and we're going to have a night of debate. If I was just a guest as being totally noob on this topic, I would go with the difference that that it stores around the brain and all that kind of stuff. Like I would try to find something distinguishing that's different from the other recreational substances. But the minute you start going on that, it's killing you because, well, jeepers, half our diet kills us, guys. Like, I mean, it's like you can't. That's not gonna win the argument. Even though it's a point, it's not gonna win the argument. To get to you're violating thou shalt not kill is so I don't know that gets on there, and we gotta say
on a bus, Felix, you might be violating that too because the rest of the bus might, wrong neighborhood. You might not survive the encounter.
Yeah, I mean, but eating poorly, again, it's a living. You're violating the thou shalt not kill the everyday life. You're overstressing yourself. I mean, I don't know. It's like you could almost, if it makes everything thou shalt not kill.
Any kind of exertion, any kind of you stayed up too late, anything.
Come on.
You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's a data point, but it's not a slam dunk.
It's not. Yeah,
thought it was.
It's not. All right. And let me see. Leroy Bainbridge says, when Chris Ferrara heard that Paul VI was going to be canonized, his reaction was when pigs fly. Wow.
Well, seriously, that is a scandal, right? Like, I mean, think about it. Like, how can you not canonize Leo the 13th, but you do Paul the 6th? Like, especially since there's a lot, and they could have got away with it maybe if they waited like 100 years or something like that. But they're so gung ho to canonize the council that basically all these post-conciliar, we went through in 2 centuries of church, like only about a third, I think, of the popes were canonized. And, and then now all of a sudden all of them are like, it's kind of like everybody goes to heaven. Yay. Okay, well, whatever. I guess that's what they teach now. But
right. It's
great. It's kind of weird.
Say hi to Adolf for me when you're in Hitler, where you're in heaven, where everyone gets to go.
Everybody goes except if you vote conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you don't get to go to heaven in their world. You're some sort of hater. You're a hater, Felix.
Oh man, yeah, right. Say hi to Judas Iscariot.
I was going to kick it. They hurl as poo at you, right? Like, I mean, guys, I can give you a scroll of things that are wrong with me, right? That are honest, but it's like they don't attack you on what you really are crappy at or mean at. They attack you on the stuff you're good at. Or
yeah. No, it's an inversion. It's an inversion. Which is, I think that that's everything at this point. Let me see. What do we got? We still got tons of comments here. We have Leroy says, good news. The TLM will return to the Knoxville area at the end of August. I swear
Leroy was kind enough to give me his email. I'm going to email him at some point. But yeah, so that's very good. So I have a number of people in Knoxville area that were not going to the society that I'd like to send in the society's direction. So that's good to know. It's a big weight off me too, because I don't have to replace the chapel there. Because I was like, if SSPX is there, it doesn't need me. All right.
Now,
this was from about 15 minutes ago. Leroy says Archbishop Meikle, Monsignor Brunero Giardini floated ideas similar to your idea in his book, The Ecumenical Second Vatican Council, a much needed discussion.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I haven't read
book?
that. I haven't
this
read
actually
it.
Sounds
so
fascinating.
Maybe I should. So yeah, so I think the strength of the idea, and nothing's new under the sun. One of the uses I use for AI, because I use it a little bit for grammar, always my own ideas, or I take a recording, I have it transcribed, like when I do a speech or something, and then I'll say, make it so that it's for the written. So I'll do stuff like that, and then I'll go in and make it sound like me. And so I do use it as a tool to exhilarate stuff. But again, it's my own idea. But I'll tell you another thing I do with AI is if I have a thought that I think is original, I'll throw it into Grok and I'll say, who said this? And it's surprising how much of this you just store in the back of your head. And so I try not to take credit for anything that's not mine. But every once in a while, Grok says, D.E. Meikle of Caraglau said this.
Wow.
And I thought, whoa, Grok knows me. I guess, it's kind of funny. But that's good because, again, I don't claim that it's necessarily a novel idea of mine, but I'm going to look forward to someone who might have thought about it more seriously than me. But you know what got me thinking about it was Bishop Waugh, the Sede bishop up in St. John, New Brunswick. And I have a friend. I haven't reached out to him yet. We have a mutual friend. And I'm just, I applaud kind of where he wants to go with it. I think basically, they realize we need to do something about the current crisis in the church of leadership and of alignment with the faith. And but my thinking is we should make it formal and slow and peer reviewed. In other words, everybody, including our Novus Ordo friends, like Ed Feischer, the philosopher, the Novus Ordo philosopher, and Peter Kreft, and Cardinal Burke, they should, now the problem is some of these people would consider this kind of thing too beneath them. And that's unfortunate because the whole point of it is to steel man the various positions and articulate the choices for each of the questions fairly, so that Cardinal Burke's position is written in such a way that Cardinal Burke would say, yes, that represents what I want. See, I don't want to win by anything other than a fair fight, because if you win on any other basis, it'll come back to bite you in the butt. And then you're no better than the people that have hijacked the church. So I think all of our ideas have to be put up to scrutiny, and that includes my own. And you may say, well, Meikle, you go on about square circles all the time. Do you have square circles? Yes, I do. We all do. All right. So, so the thing is that how are you working through them? How, can you face God with them? That's the big thing, right? So we all have our little, like I have a soft spot for, oh my goodness, I'm such a pushover. You can ask Felix. I get up there all fire and brimstone, but I have such a soft spot for people that are just trying to go to heaven. And so anyway.
Yeah, no, and even as far as brimstone as you are, it's even then. I mean, come on. But all right, let's see. Father Hago says, I'd even go with Bishop Schneider to meet the Pope. As a celibate and chaste bishop, Leo XIV might allow me to keep my meter if it led to reunification, but we'd have to see first.
Well, I would gladly retire, and I say that only because I think there are, in my case, there are, we all different leaders for a different purpose, just like different tools in the toolbox. And so I see my own vocation to be basically a fighter for this time. But when we're in peacetime, I'm like General Patton. You don't need me anymore, right? So that's kind of my perception in terms of like the whole chastity and stuff. I always call up Saint Hilary, Doctor of the Church, was a married bishop, as were 11 of the apostles, as was 1 Timothy 3:5. I used to tease my friend Father John. he would say, well, I'm for married priesthood, but I'm not for married bishops. And I would say, well, what does that 1 Timothy 3:5 say in the Douay again there, Father? Was a bishop should be a man of 0 wives or 9 wives. And he'd be proud. So and I say this just to stir the pot because, as Monsignor knows, I don't. That's not my hill to die on. That's not my particular crusade. But it's just such a side issue when the basic duties of baptism aren't even understood. The basic doctrines of real presence and what gender is, who can be a mother superior, can a male identify as a female and be called a mother superior? Well, some cardinals of our acquaintance apparently can, right? Say that they can. So, I think, Archbishop Humphreys used to say, I don't care about your celibacy, Father. I care about your chastity. And so that's kind of my school of thought on that. But it is true. The post 12th century tradition would favor only celibate bishops for sure.
Yeah. All right. So Father Hugo says, right, Bishop Schneider, I will too. Let me see. Jay says, I believe that for the church to rise up from the catacombs, it will take heaven's interventions. I'm with you on that, Jay. I think so too. What about you, Father?
Yeah,
you too?
We're beyond the point of really.
We're not voting ourselves out of this.
We're not voting ourselves out of this. No, I agree.
Yeah.
You're certainly not going. That's part of the reason why I say, with due respect to those who want to fight from the inside, I again, do it as long as they're not asking you to sin. But the short of a divine illumination, it's not gonna. And even then that divine illumination, the in and the out, who's in and who's out, is going to be determined by that.
It's going to be more radical.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be more radical, but like it's going to divide us even harder. Like people think that it's going to be unifying. It's going to be even more divisive because it's going to be like, don't be an idiot. Don't fall for what you're seeing versus this is clearly, the truth. So it's, this gets nasty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rock says,
Thank
good
you,
evening,
Rock.
Your Excellency and Felix. Ave Maria. Ave Maria.
Ave Maria.
Let me see. God bless you, Rock. Thank you so much. And then he says, our Father Hagen says, when it comes to cannabis, I educated myself on the use of medicinal cannabis. Admittedly, it's safer than smoking cigarettes. And I say that as a cigarette smoker. Likewise.
Oh, you smoke cigarettes? I did not know that about Archbishop Hagen. No, I occasionally on clergy night, so once a month, I smoke a pipe.
Okay.
Our dear friend Father Angel sometimes brings one of his blends, and I stick it in the pipe and smoke it. But pipe smoking and cigar smoking is totally you don't inhale.
Different. No.
So it's like you're Bill Clinton. No, just joking. But anyway.
The finest weed
in
the South Florida.
Maybe that's a bad joke.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So apparently he didn't inhale. Remember that? That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was it. So for our younger audience, you won't know the joke that the presidential candidate one time said, "Did you touch the stuff?" And he said, "Well, I did, but I didn't inhale."
Yeah, right. He probably had God knows how many bodies hidden already. So, but thankfully he didn't inhale his weed.
Like I say, don't go to a barbecue at their place.
No, yeah, right. You might be the main course.
Turning up toast. Yeah. But anyway,
enough to serve man. It's a cookbook. No, I'm sorry. Let me see. He goes, on that note, good night, gentlemen. Good night, Father Hager. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Leroy says, I don't have the details, but they will be building a chapel in Dandridge, Tennessee, around the 30th. Yep. They will have mass at a house in the area.
Fantastic. I will pass that along to the people I know up there and see if they want any info. I will be the buffer, but I'll see if we can hook them up with you.
Yeah. Rock says, as far as smoking on commercial planes, the reason it was banned is because the nicotine ruins the PSU air system a lot quicker and gets stuck in all the interior parts.
That makes sense. I did not know that. But that does. I didn't think about it, but it's true. Like nicotine,
it'll gunk up. Yeah.
Like when you change a cigarette filter, it's up that it's liquidy and nasty and it's viscous and it's pretty nasty. So I could see it clogging up an air system.
Yeah. Now, all right. Now, I'm not denying the fact that that it can ruin the PSU's air system, but I will, I guess, fight back a little bit on the claim that that's why it was banned. No, I think it was banned because people were complaining too much, and the non-smokers were complaining, and there probably should have been some sort of compromise. I think we had a great compromise, the non-smoking and the smoker, because let me tell you, if the smokers won that fight, like let's say, just hypothetically, I don't care how much those nicotine, how much nicotine can ruin the PSU air system. They would, first off, they would capitalism their way out of that and make a better filter or whatever. You know what I mean? So,
well, they could have just put a bulkhead in, like with an airlock, I guess.
Something, yeah. And you know what? Even though it's funny because the older planes, they would have a lounge area with the bar. Where people were just smoking that area. And again, there's areas where you didn't have to deal with that stuff.
Yeah,
but I don't know. And I think this is our last comment right here. Regarding Monsignor Giardini, while he agreed with Pope Benedict the 16th and the hermeneutic of continuity, he saw that there were points of 7 that you couldn't just be pronounced as in continuity.
Yeah, I mean, the real problem, and I think Leroy would agree with me, the real problem is really on the notion of the religious freedom. Now, even Archbishop Lefebvre was able to sign it because, it couldn't be interpreted in a Catholic way. But it's really tough, guys. Like that whole notion, like basically what it boils down to, like you end up with a situation where all paths lead to heaven. And you get these weird things where Anglican archbishopesses can bless the Pope and be blessed by her, but a traditional cannot. Like it's kind of weird, right? We're in bizarro land that the church will sell a building to become a mosque, but won't let a traditional group use it. So it's really, like you can't help but think. Like, I mean, again, we can put on my tinfoil hat again, but when I look at Lord of the World. Ding, when I look at Lord of the World, I see, like, again, the Borg Church, right? The Borg Church that all the liberals will go to the Borg Church and they'll all be ecumenical. And those of us who are traditional, we're the outcast and we're the whatever. And that's fine. I don't actually want to be part of any liberal organization, right? So if the church has been usurped by these people, and I don't want to be part of that institution formally. I want to be part of the church that our Lord Jesus founded, and he's not liberal. So say what you want about our Lord, right? But you really
he was not a liberal.
People say, "Oh, well, he went against the social convention." Yeah, but he did so in a very manly way, though, didn't he? And
that's not liberal. That's not what liberalism is,
right? It's stand up. It's a very manly way to stand up for what's wrong. And stand up to what's wrong. And when he made the whip of cords and he beat the stuffing out of the people in the temple, and that story is just glossed over. And the parable and there's consequences to our Lord Jesus. When you mess it up with his stories, where do you end up? Outside weeping and gnashing of teeth. That doesn't sound very synodal or inclusive, does it? So, so I try to, on one hand, there's our Lord's tenderness and his mercy. My yoke is easy, my burden light. And on the other hand, there's this harshness that if you don't. So, I would just say to all of you that belong to various traditional groups, try to be kind to one another where you can, until someone is not to you. And then don't let them walk on you, but don't go over the top being mean. I'm so tired of the backstabbing that happens in all church groups, but it's like, you don't like me, tell me you don't like me. Like, that's fine. I'm not for everybody. I'm a little over the top. I am what I am. Like Popeye the Sailor, my joke is, except instead of spinach, I use Guinness. But what I'm getting at is that I am what you see right here on YouTube. If you know me in person, it's the same guy. And basically, I just want us all to get to heaven, and let your yes be yes and your no be no. If you don't like somebody, hey, Mikkel, you know what? I appreciate you have good intent, but I think you're a turkey.
There you go.
I don't hate someone for honest disagreement, because I myself know that I can't reach everybody. Bishop Sanborn can reach people I cannot. Bishop Parks can reach people I cannot. Cardinal Burke can reach people I cannot. But I can reach people they cannot.
That's right.
So there's different organs in the body. And again, in the spirit of Acts 5, I think we're fighting when we're fighting one another, and I'm talking to myself as much as anybody else. When we're fighting amongst one another, we are in a sense failing in the mission, at least partially. Because all we're doing is driving people outside of Christianity, outside of Catholic Christianity. They're going to end up in Orthodoxy, or they're going to end up sitting at home watching EWTN reruns of Mother Angelica ranting. It's not going to help, all right? So we've got work to do. We roll up our sleeves, and we get into that trench, and we try to do to the best of our ability to discern, like the hinges, morning offering, evening examine. Morning offering, evening examine. You do those things faithfully every day, and you're going to clear out the garbage that's preventing you from listening to God. And you should work up to a half hour of prayer if you're a lay person, half-hour prayer a day. But that's you work up to that. You don't start gung-ho and then fall off the wagon. You work up to that. Start with the morning offering, then add the examine, then add 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes prayer. And if you do those things, you're going to be amazed. If you don't already, you're going to be amazed the transformation in your spiritual life. God will do great things in you. It's his work, not ours, right? We say yes to him. He chose us. We didn't choose him. That's part of my other reason when these clergy say these nasty things in my direction. It's like, you think I chose this? You think, I don't even have a dental plan, man. No, but I'm just saying, like, there's no earthly reward, right? There's no earthly reward of being an independent, or none. What there is that we are, because we cannot go where the machine is taking everybody, and we have to. If you know the theology and you know the old faith, and then now it's your duty. You can't bury your talent in the sand, looking for safety, and the master comes back and casts you out because you didn't use the talent given to you to try to help others that are feeling the same way you are. So I would say, that's who I reach the best, is the people that also feel disillusioned with institutional church, but they believe in God and they believe in the whole faith. They just can't find it. Or if they're anthropologically or politically liberal, or conservative, and they go to postmodern churches, they're all liberal. So you don't have a home there. Why would you go where you're barely tolerated? Your wallet's barely tolerated, let alone you. Why would you go there instead of someplace where you're welcome, where your baptism, your duties and your contributions in line with your baptism are appreciated, and that you're trying to work with the communion of saints for the kingship, the social kingship of Christ the King in our social order, and the restoration of the 20 doctrinal councils, excluding all innovation contrary, restoration of the Catholic faith to Christianity. Because you can't evangelize to a Baptist anymore if you're a mainstream Catholic. How can you? Like, right. Imagine you're Jimmy Akin now. He's a phenomenal apologist, a brilliant mind, wonderful guy. Used to, loved everything that came out of him years ago. But imagine in the 90s, he was like 90s, early 2000s, he was particularly famous. And he's still around, but he's semi-retired, I think. But anyway, get this. Can you imagine evangelizing to Baptists today? Like, right. How do you do that? All they got to do is read the paper on the Pachamama. You're done. Your argument's done. Fiducia supplicans. You're done. Amoris Laetitia. You're done. Pointing all these crazy people to these, the head of the Catholic Bible organization is a Jewish woman. Wow. Tell me that makes any sense. How do you do this? You're done. You're done. All you have
humiliation ritual
is Podesta Catholicism. That's what it is. Go read WikiLeaks. Listen to what Podesta had in mind for the church, and you tell me it didn't happen. There's a reason why David Axelrod's there chumming with Leo.
That's right.
I don't mean to make it politics, guys, but it's different worldview. It's simple as. And if they can take your resources to fund their plan, they'll throw you a little Latin mass once in a while. They don't care.
Right.
It's awful.
Now, Rock says, I learned that working in aviation, it was about the money. The people's complaints were secondary. You know what? I stand corrected, Rock. That's it. That's very interesting. That's very interesting.
I don't know. I wonder if Rock was on the flying side or the business side. If you're still online, you can let
About
us know.
smoking. Yeah. Well, what did you think?
As a little aside, I've been trying to get my pilot's license transferred from Canada, and you'd think this would be a simple thing.
Right, of course.
Simple thing. So the last time the application was rejected, remember, this costs a lot of money to send every time, right? My signature crossed into a shaded area. It was not allowed, so the whole thing's invalid. And I was waiting like 90 days for the last application figure, and they're just busy. But anyway, they got a wonderful person I'm dealing with now who let me scan the application, and I just said, hey, if it's wrong, let me know. I'll fix it here before I spend all that money to get you the original. And we'll see what they say.
All right. Let me see. Rock says, good night. Great show, and thank you.
Hey, Rock.
Leroy
You know what,
says,
Leroy? I like what you say. I'll let you read his point. I got excited.
Yes, no problem. Leroy says, I used to be conservative. Now I consider myself a reactionary.
So it's so neat you say that, because I gotta meet you one day, because there's over 3 shows. You have a whole bunch of stuff that sometimes we never even talked about. And I'm like, yeah, that's me too, right? So anyway, but so I don't identify really as a conservative. I mean, sometimes like just to be lazy, I do, but I consider myself a non-leftist.
Right.
So a non-leftist. And I think I think what I mean by that is what you're likely meaning by what you're saying.
Same.
I'm a non-leftist, and why I say that is that I don't fit into the box of Republican or Libertarian or whatever, or like aspects of Blue Dog Democrat or something when they used to exist. I'm definitely a non-leftist, and I'm very, very so where I would differ from some trads. There's a lot of trads that think you shouldn't have free speech, that there should be certain things you're not allowed to say, and I think that truth needs no lie to defend it. So I tend towards, unless it's a direct threat or an intentional malfeasance. In other words, if I say, Leroy hates tabby cats, and I know that he loves tabby cats, stupid example, but if I deliberately, if it can be shown I deliberately misrepresented you, I think that should be a crime. But if I honestly think you do, then that's a different thing. So, I mean, it's hard to prove motive, but the thing is, guys, is like, we have to be allowed to have our crazy conspiracy theories, right? Because sometimes they're true. So you can't have this business of the government determining what's misinformation, because that'll be a shield for them to do all kinds of crazy, right? Or to gaslight us or to fool us around. So I think everybody should be allowed to say anything they want, as long as they're not threatening somebody, with violence, and they should not deliberately be telling falsehoods.
Okay. Let me see. Rather counter-revolutionary. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's probably better. Oh, you're on the maintenance side. So like AMP stuff, right? So that's neat. So in the U.S., at least the civilian side, it's my understanding that the maintenance guys, are AMP folks, and then in Canada they call them, I think, a CME, and but there's lots, and of course in the military they have all these little subgroups from the non-destructive testing guys to the airframe guys to the the people that take care of the upholstery, so it's kind of neat, all the little different sub branches you can get into it. But I'm not one of these guys who wants to live forever, but it would be great if I had, say 20 years ago, got into one of the build kits or something. It would have been kind of neat. But I'm a fair weather flyer. It was never my job.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
I just think I have a priest on the other side of the state, and it's a 5-hour drive each way. So that's where Norm is, by the way. Norm's a member of that parish. And so, I just figured, well, if I can do it in an hour and 15 minutes in a small plane, just because the way the road works and everything. Of course, my luck could go down in a pile of alligators. We wouldn't want that.
Of course.
Just my luck, right?
Right.
I'll get that priest that doesn't like me that Mary was saying. He'll be out there cutting my brake hose or something, or my, you know.
God,
I'm
that's
joking.
hilarious.
I'm joking.
Yeah, right.
Stupid sense of humor. All right.
Yeah, no, right.
So
Well, that's it, Father. Yes,
Are
Father.
we all done?
Yeah, we are.
Well, Jeepers, 3 hours again. See, these things
Yeah.
are planned for 2, but you guys keep me going. Okay. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Dear Lord, we praise and thank you for all your benefits. Help us to see the world and ourselves and our adversaries as you wish us to see. Help us to have the courage to do the right thing, not the comfortable thing. Help us to learn how to love you even better. Help us to be faithful to our morning offering, our evening examen, at least 30 minutes daily prayer, in addition to whatever other prayers our state of life demands of us. And may Almighty God bless us, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Amen. God bless and protect each of you. I will see you next week. And thanks for hanging out all this time for those who stayed through the whole thing. Thanks again.
All right. Have a good night.